Again, I have talking about struggling while streaming of late. A couple different reasons. But, like, one of the issues is hey, Racka. One of the issues I have in terms of, like, FTL and playing FTL is I had essentially retired, right? Like, I was done. I did my 13 runs with every ship. I got to my, like, 97% win rate. And I have my cycles. So trying to establish a goal, like, I can't come up with one. I can't really go, oh, like, I need to do something else in FTL. I can make some video content. Recently made one about how to scout sectors. Hey, Gestro. Yes, 47 months. That's a lot of months. Welcome back to the Murder Most Foul. Appreciate it. Keeping an eye, making sure I'm not sparkling out, because the lighting's all totally wrong. Totally wrong. But yeah, I was kind of done with FTL and thought I would kind of start streaming some other stuff, but a lot of things I'm interested aren't even out yet. You can get 100 streak if even a true gamer. Yeah, that's true. There's only 2 true gamers here. It's Holo and Neazar. I say what Neazar as if I don't know. It's Neazar. Yeah, so if I just keep running the intro music, is that gonna, like, super annoy people? Because that's all I guess I could go, is it gonna, like, overtake it? Pay it up. 2. Confirm, new game. Start. Cool, back, I'm just using FTL as background music. We're not playing FTL. So yeah, as I said, I've really just not had that motivation to, like, stream stuff. You know, the Dead Space thing, it was just like, well, you know, that's the thing I had interested. It went on sale, and we got through it, and now it's like, here. But then there was an FTL tournament, and I'm on the council for it. And I enjoyed doing the last FTL tournament, and again, I'm on the council of it. How long will I play? Yeah, I have 4,500 hours. It's a lot of hours. It is a ridiculous amount of hours. Again, credit to the game. So now I'm back in to FTL and having to sort of represent, like, my weird place within the FTL community, and I'll explain why it's weird. I never really sought, through the playing of FTL, like, a position of recognition or authority. I streamed FTL because I had watched Lethal Frag play it, and I could stream it because it had very low requirements. And my own want of self-improvement got to a certain point, as well as an idea of there was misinformation within the FTL community. And yes, there was misinformation, just some little wrong things here and there, like what weapons could fire with your cloaking without reducing cloaking, what strategies perhaps are better than other strategies, or little things like that, or big things like that. And so I kind of sought out break incoming, awesome, on break. I sought out watching other players and gathering as much information as I could in my head to sort of create, like, a consensus, even though there would never be, like, an absolute consensus, but it was just gonna be like, oh, this player has a really good idea, or this is some really useful information that a lot of other players don't utilize. And so that was kind of like the mini goal. And then it became, I had to get myself a cycle because I couldn't be legit if I didn't have a cycle. And that took a while. Won 27 times in a row, would have been the 6th person to cycle, died on 28, and then it took me about 2 years to actually complete a cycle. See, now this ad's gonna come in, and I don't know, do I delay it because I'm in the middle of a, how long is a snooze? 5 minutes. All right, cool. We got 5 minutes more of me talking about myself. Awesome. So I, do the cycle, and at this point in time, I'm now like the moderator, a moderator on the FTL Discord. I was originally just, club walking around the Discord. I was known as treat played at 1.5 speed pause. Really? Yeah, we'll get to like what this is, why this is, because the why is kind of important. And I was a community manager along with Scott Onesie Wilson, which we weren't moderators, but we're just like hostesses, right? People could come in and like, hey, these are people, they don't have any power, but you could trust them for like FTL information, and they weren't going to be jerks. But that system sort of got phased out. I got uplifted to be a moderator, and now it was like this authority figure who became respected to some degree. It's really important. Not universal, with a few caveats, depending on individuals, depending on my interactions with said individuals. Fair enough. Like I said, it became this, source of information. And I get my first cycle, and then I thought, I hit my 28, and it needed to be better. 28 was not enough. Like 28, my mentality was like, well, maybe I just got lucky. I really had to prove that I had a high win rate. So I got to, 52. And then when I died, I was like, okay, I have to cycle again. I have to cycle again to show that, again, it just wasn't this fluke. Went on cycle, got a double cycle, and was like sort of in that weird area like I am now, except less so back then, of like, well, what do I do now? Like, what am I supposed to do with FTL? What am I supposed to do as a streamer? But I was still, on occasion, I was uploading FTL stuff. FTL was always something you could play, and trying to break off and do some more games, and that was just like the personal thing. But like FTL was always there, and FTL was like, well, I'll just play a few games and then something else will strike up my interest. We'll get into that for a little bit. And there's just been a bigger gap of late of things holding on to my interest that I would actually want to stream. Then I got my next cycle, was still making information. And Mike and I mean, as well as others, but like Mike and I had put out so much stuff, it became kind of difficult to sort of like come up with like what's next? What do we do? Join Unicycle. And in terms of like making videos, or like I didn't want to make like the same stuff. I did, hey Badger, could you answer like questions like really quickly? Because I don't honestly know. Somewhere on this list, somewhere. Badger, yes. Did you pick your ships randomly? Did you use a measuring tool of any sort? And did you speed hack during your cycles? That's kind of what I'm working on now. Join Tricycle. That's fair. Bicycle song. So, like I said, trying to create... Oh, okay, here it comes. So, trying to create random speed hack. No. Thanks. No fleet pursuit? No. Well, what yours says right now, Racka, is... so, this is another reason I did this thing. So, this one's pause, random, none, but this is played on iOS. Youngest player to cycle. We got no pause, random, use of MSN Paint for your measuring tool, and then yes for speed hacking. The stage where I got the cycle, I think I was using. Okay, cool. We'll get in the crux of this silliness. Nice, looks good. Cool. Like I said, we're gonna get stuck with an ad. I don't want to skip this one that's coming up right now, where I'll just float around for a minute. And this is really bad. Like, again, there is an eventual ad that's going to happen. Twitch has a lot of things that'll tell you that an ad is going to happen. Sometimes the actual ad happens, because like right now it actually hasn't started yet. It just tells me that it's starting soon. And as a broadcaster, it's kind of irksome. Yeah. It's kind of irksome because I do have people who subscribe, so they're not going to get ads. And then there's people who like don't, or they don't have turbo or whatever. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, ads are fine-ish. I understand that ads are a necessity, but like, again, it's still telling me ads starting soon. It's still going up there. Now we're officially actually in an ad break. Like, what? As a streamer, I should just stop talking. There's nothing I should do. So people who have subscribed to my channel to avoid ads are still being impacted by ads. Do you see how that's weird? And if I'm uploading this to YouTube, I mean, I guess I could just edit out the minute where I'm yammering on, but that's not a whole lot better. They just go off when the timer says everyone's back. Yeah, like the timers when everyone's back is generally pretty accurate, but in chat, and you can see in chat because it has the ad timer there, it says 17 seconds. My dashboard for advertisements is 4 seconds slower. Yeah, and then you might on the screen get a completely different number as well. Yeah, so my community's back. Now the stream ad manager says it's back. Yeah, it's like we have these tools, they just don't, I don't know. I don't want pre-roll ads, because pre-roll ads are just the worst. The pre-roll ads is if somebody like raids your channel, they get hit with ads. Like, they just get hit with a sea of ads for like a minute or so. And it's just like, dude, anybody who raids a channel, like, you would just quit. Yeah, no. I think that's about the best you can do in Powers, is really just have breaks with the ads. You don't get enough breaks to justify the ads. I don't inherently have a choice. Like, there's just like, if you want to avoid pre-roll ads, if you want to be able to have block ads, it's just there. Anyway. So, another thing that's kind of been weighing on me in terms of the FTL, and this is like personal mentality stuff, is certain frustrations, let's say, certain interactions, claims made by individuals and people, and of late having felt like no pause community was kind of like, oh, we're real FTL and pausers are just casuals, doesn't count. And as I said, personally, as a thing that I deal with, that is incredibly frustrating to me. A lot of people might just go, oh, those people are idiots, and they go on with their happy little lives. Am I taking a break every hour forced to be a stretch? Yeah, no, that's completely healthy. Yeah, there's no pauses. Hey, some no pauses are okay. Some of my best friends are no pausers. But yeah, I could point to specific comments that I've heard. Again, one that will forever live with me was in Rand's channel, where people were trying to convince Rand, or ask Rand, like, why doesn't Rand try to do just a pause cycle? And someone responded with, the reason Rand doesn't do pause cycles, again, this wasn't Rand himself, is because it'd be too easy. It's just too easy to get a cycle with pause. And other times, like, again, personally, where people would just be like, oh, like, Crow has this really good win rate, or Crow has this cycle. And so it'd be like, oh yeah, but he pauses, or he micro pauses. Like, you need to know that Crow pauses. I don't do that, but Crow does. I mean, you can play the game that way. Just play both. Yeah, just play both at the same time. Ironically, no pauses should play both. Yeah, it's what's really funny, and this is kind of getting more into what I want to talk about later, but to me, where it's like, you do understand what you're saying, right? Got to be blindfolded too. Look, I spent maybe 20 minutes looking at a once in, 20 years event of a solar flare, okay? I do not want to spend 2 to 3 hours not looking at an asteroid field, all right? That's just something I don't want to do. If you're into that kind of thing, that's totally okay. That's great. No judgment. This is a no judgment zone. I'm going to be super judgy from time to time. It's going to happen. You should have burnt off your retina so you could play blindfolded all the time. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not a thing that you should do. So there's that. So there's that element, and there have been lots of like nitpicky things or people making pretty declarative statements that I thought it's not actually quite right. That's not accurate. And as I said, I kind of want to get the bad information out of the FTL community and discourse. There can be differences of opinion. Of course there can be. But there's sometimes it can just be the problem of like being in a bubble to some degree. It's like FTL related comparison would be DD1 versus DD2. Everybody likes DD1 better because it costs less power, it shoots down missiles, which is primarily what you want the defense drone for, but there's a place for DD2. But because of the gap of the preferences and the usability element of it, people just are like, oh, you don't get DD2 at all because you should just get DD1. It's like, no. There's like a pretty good option there. It's not real FTL unless you use chain laser. Somebody, man's channel, always. Power to them. So sort of in like that same vein of, like I said, there would be these discourses and people would be like, oh, so-and-so uses fleet pursuit indicator. And like in a way, like that's how they won. Or like there's this really huge, disgusting advantage with fleet pursuit indicator. And again, I'm just like, I don't think that's appropriate. I think that's kind of overselling something. There's been, I don't know, some back and forth about don't get burst laser 1, just get burst laser 2. Exactly. What's the title of this video called? Crow rambles for however long this goes on for. Or that, again, I'm going to be talking about different approaches that people have to their cycles and why it's an advantage or a preference. Just find flax floating in space is easy. Absolutely, you should totally do that. New win streaks have a mod where every single ship starts with the Vulcan. Yeah, that's true win streaking. That's rambles. Oh, I'm a rambling man. Rambling man. So, Thomas Strat Enjoyer. Okay, so this is, let's just kind of look at it. This is the cycle plus streaks, okay? These are the 30-odd people who have claimed, at the very minimum threshold level, have claimed to have completed a cycle. Some people streamed it. Some people just provided photo evidence. Some people just posted in the chat, hey, I did this. No, I can't. Can we go one stream without that? You should get the opinion of the guy who was 28 to 28. Surely got some insight in streaking and powers. Oh, we're gonna talk about it. That's totally in my plan. So like fun, just like little side note. Empowers has a video about the FTL iceberg, and I don't get it because I'm old. Why it's an iceberg and not just random FTL information, but that's fine. And I'm featured prominently in it, as is Mike, and of course Empowers as well. And, you know, you could have an idea of like, wow, I made all this content and Empowers is just using it. Of course, Empowers checked with me, totally cool. We're absolutely square, 100%. But like, you know, put together the stupid amount of time it is editing. I hate editing. You may notice a lot of my videos, almost all of them, I just do one takes because I don't want to do editing. I don't want to do it. So I like take 2 or 3 dry runs and then I just spew through all of it. Again, rambling. And since that video dropped, I've got like 4 or 5 new subscribers on YouTube. And I wasn't doing anything. I definitely wasn't doing anything. Believe me, I wasn't doing anything to turn eyes to YouTube. And I was like, hey, look at that. Like, I made some videos to help some people out, inspire, empowers, amid a bunch of other things and other individuals to make a fun video, which I didn't even know was allowed to happen in FTL, that you can make fun videos. And there was a little bit benefit to me. I don't make any money off YouTube, but in theory, it's there. That'll be $500. Okay. Farb probably has that kind of money. I don't know. He talks about all the college basketball stuff. I'm sure put some money in on that. And yeah. Oh, good. Yet I got this. Oh my. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any mods. There are no mods in my channel. Well, I shouldn't say I have no mods. I play with Cheat Engine. There's no moderators in my channel just because I don't like the idea that people show up here and want to work. Yeah, ban everybody, especially Farb, double ban, triple. Ah, we triple ban. She really worked for it though. Scrap bribes. Yeah. So this list was originally put together by Thomas Peterson. Oh, there he is. Thomas also was like the speedrun world record holder for a very long time. Thomas hit 8. And along the way, more and more people got it. And then, as is tradition, Thomas got lazy, decided didn't want to do this, and dumped it off on me to, you know, that's just what happens, right? Do a little bit of work and then make Crow carry it on for, I don't know, 20, 30 years at this point. It's exhausting. Well, you know, what can I do? What can I do? Again, there is no one has come forward and been like, Crow, you're supposed to take care of this. You're the one who's seen as an authority on FTL, so you have to spend time, dedicate to like these kind of things. I feel slightly compelled to do so. So as I said, Thomas started the list, and then at some point, I don't know, probably around here, I took over just keeping track of people saying they got streaks. And like I said, some people streamed it, other people would just kind of show up and say they got one, whatever. And it's important to note that there's never really been official rules of FTL. And this is another reason I'm kind of doing what I'm doing here and conversing and updating the list. Was I was talking with Casalian, and Casalian said that they didn't know that you could cycle without doing randomized ships. Like, it somehow wasn't legal if you picked your ships. I think and I was just like, oh my gosh, no, that's like, there are several people on the list who pick ships like that, you know? And similar things with like how people approach the games. I didn't want somebody to go, okay, I watched 2 or 3 people. This is how they always did their cycles or their win streaking. So that must be the official rule set. There isn't an official rule set. What do they pay you for this? Doubling it? Sick. Sick. How much money I think I got $40 from... I think like a good year of Twitch money is like $600. Like that, I think that's about it. It's so low. Well, like Twitch doesn't actually, or Amazon doesn't actually. They used, like the first time they sent me a tax form, but now they don't have to. I don't qualify as needing to report that income. So my goal is to make enough money to not have to do any actual work for it, which like having to file taxes for it would be. Also, it's probably success. Achievement acquired. So yeah, that was kind of one of the reasons I want to put the list together, as well as talk about discrepancies and whatnot. So I had a really long script. It was about 10 pages long, talking about... Yes!
The big bucks.
52 months. Wow. That's the length of my first win streak. That was a cycle plus. Thank you for acknowledging that, Dry Brats, with your continued support. Welcome back to the Murder Mo Foul. And the problem is I kind of found this lacking in context and information. It's just like, some people pick ships, some people ran specific mods, other people didn't run specific mods, as well as there's also make a streak tier list. Yeah, you're not that wrong, because that was another problem. Well, I don't know if we'll get to it. I'm just rambling. We'll talk about it now. So it's like the prestige of random became a thing. I'm not sure where it inherently started or why it became what it was, but there became this notion that if you picked your ships, like, again, that wasn't the same as like a real cycle, wink wink. There's a lot of, again, not like something definitive. No one would go like, here are the rules of cycles, if you don't follow them, you're no good. But they would always put like a little asterisk, a little comment in here and there. I don't do this. I guess it's fine if you do. Time to start adding. Let's see if we can, yeah, when all the rest seems like pretty simple list to me. So that was another problem I've been having in recent months, was the Holo Shadime. I don't know what to call it. The Holo Shadime. Holo, I have zero problems with. I have no problems with Holo, and Holo does absolutely nothing to permeate, like I said, this idea like no pause is real and other people's streaks are somehow lesser. Like, not in a way like, oh, obviously no pause is harder, but it was just like, did you really do anything? I guess, kind of mentality. And what I think happened there is, this is a little bit of history of FTL cycles and streaks. So, so Billy Win Kirby at some point got 39. I was watching Billy Win Kirby when they got 39. And then Thomas slammed down the 80. Right? Thomas put up 80, and there was no pause cycle at the time. There were a couple people trying to put one together. You had Scott Onesie Wilson, they had the Farb. Jorbs was also doing this. Dolphin Chemist was also working on it. Feel better about your own? Fair. Hey. Coping mechanisms, we all got them. We all need them. That's how you get through life. I understand. It's a fun little conversation I have with my therapist every once in a while, where they're like, oh, see, you developed a coping mechanism, which has got you through a certain part of your life as a survival instinct, and that's great, but then you keep using it, and now it's a hindrance. Yeah, no, Holo isn't real, can't hurt you. Hey, Kleptomania. I'm just talking about FTL cycles and the difference of cycles and how people go about getting cycles and whatever just pops into my head. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. Chat's, I don't know, participating. Yes. I threw chat up on the screen. Do I regret it? Yes. Obviously. So here is my perspective, which is also somewhat clouded. I was not following FTL really closely when this stuff was going on. I didn't know No Quit. I didn't know Meklos. I knew of Thomas when Thomas got the streak, and I didn't know Billy when Kirby had a cycle streak. I also don't know who Shadowcrest was. But I was watching Scott. I was watching Farb. I was watching Dolphin Chemist. And like I said, there was this big race to try and get the cycle. I was working at my cycle at the time, and there became these conversations about legit cycles. Because some people were like, when Billy when Kirby was going for their cycle, someone in their chat, and it's really weird. Yeah, I know. I'll start this year. It's really weird that people who don't know have really strong opinions that they think people should know about. So Billy Wynn Kirby was streaming it and was like, oh, like I'm not a world record holder anymore because Thomas did 80. And someone's like, oh, did Thomas stream it? And Billy Wynn Kirby's like, no, didn't stream it, you know, didn't stream all of it. And someone's like, oh, so it wasn't official. Billy Wynn Kirby, because he's base, was like, if Thomas says they got 80, they got 80. And that was it. Didn't want that garbage happening around in his channel, and I respect that. I imagine. I only recently got more into the discussion. I didn't know about all this. Yeah, so it was a time, and again, so there was like a lot of pressure. So what's interesting, and they're not on this list, and this is another problem with the list, is it doesn't inherently give accolades to really great FTL players, like really pioneers. Is like Dark Twinge isn't on this list. Mike Hopley is not on this list. And Cyberbilly. So Cyberbilly had world record at 16-0 for a very long time in no pause, which is a shame that didn't get a cycle, because then for the notes I could put up that, you know, Cyberbilly did like a lot of flight simulators, like flight simulation stuff. So use that setup to play FTL. So it had like a toggle box on the side for all the systems to power it and depower it. It was using foot pedals as well as just like a mouse in this, like, there's like a video on YouTube about it. It's really fantastic. Yeah, it's so sick. It's so sick. And then, but also because I was just like, I wonder if that kind of toggling gives an advantage in the no pause. And it's just like, oh, don't. Like, I could have that thought, and it's an interesting thought, but I wouldn't be like, maybe it provides an advantage, because this is so much easier with those switches than doing it on a keyboard with a mouse or something like that. Legitimate? So that was going on, and then Scott Wilson does it. Scott Wilson hits the 28, first of the 28s. And so again, there's a little interesting thing, because Britnoth was not streaming, it was off stream, and we get 45 a couple months later, and there's been, whether or not there was a cycle before that, it's an awkward situation for the reasons of, like, if you're not streaming, is it real? And then the fact that 45 for a long time was like, nobody else got 45 until this person existed. Holo Shadime did not exist until 5 years ago. Actually, Holo Shadime was, I didn't remember them being in Scott's channel, but they were fan of. But like, really, there were no 40s and no pause. You know, Frank, 34, 28, those are both relatively recent. Dolphin, 31 Racka. Racka got close, 38. I don't play no pause. I'm a normal person. Again, Britnoth, 24, 28. Like, it was always just kind of like in the 30s, because it's tough and no pause is hard. First of the 30s, yeah, 30, 31. Still no 40s, no pause. Yeah. So Scott gets it. Farb, I shouldn't say Farb eventually gets one. Farb also completes the cycle at this point in time. And I go 27-0 here. I go 27-0 here before Scott. And then 10 other people got to a cycle before I got mine. In the 2 years that happened in between it. So yeah, so I was like, in terms of like, I don't know, luck, like would have been the 6th person to cycle during this like peak where everybody's trying to get cycles and no pause, and have like catapulted my channel. No, but 27-1, you mean? Yeah, I went 27-1, lost on Zoltan C. And then, like I said, so that kind of happens, and my belief on it is this became quite a bubble where the predominant FTL players, or no pause players, I mean, Frag streams FTL, but never really as like a streaker, I don't think. And, you know, I'm out there streaming, but Burrito didn't stream much. Badger doesn't stream. Here's our stream some of it, but there was this like gap where I feel like this is the consensus, because I kind of how I perceived it, even though it's completely wrong. Like, oh, these are the top FTL players. Win rates are pretty much set in stone, about 80 to nearly 90% win rates. That's it. And yeah, first half of Neozars wasn't streamed. And there wasn't like a ceiling to go to. However, at this time, Mike's playing FTL. Mike's releasing FTL videos and shows a skill set far beyond what us mere mortals were doing. You have Dark Twinge was also doing pretty good work. Again, Thomas didn't stream a bunch of his stuff, but Thomas's win rate had to be up there. Like, had to be very significantly better. And I think this kind of started a bubble. It was a bubble of it's no pause and mid 80s is where win rates kind of settled. Some people might claim they had a higher win rate. I didn't. But like, that's just like, that's where it was. And so a lot of individuals weren't seeking out new information. They weren't looking through YouTube tutorials to figure out how to get better. Again, really just kind of doing things on their own, maybe catch another stream or something. But in terms of like really actively pushing the meta, there wasn't really a lot of that going on. It was kind of insular. Like, somebody might show up in your chat and relay some information, but I talk about like being a student of the game. So like Farb, though, Farb was a student of the game. Farb and I, we could, once we, you know, became friends, would talk like strategies and things off stream and watch somebody else and have that conversation. And I don't know if it was going on elsewhere, but I think it just kind of became a little bit stagnant in the streaming sphere. And then Holo showed up. Now again, Burrito already exists, and Burrito was playing some masterful FTL. I still haven't gotten my cycle yet, but I was already creeping up into the higher 80 percentile range. Before I got my cycle of 52, my win rate was at 89%. And that's like going like, I guess not going all the way back, but like leading up to it, I had gotten a win rate up to 89%. I was really coming close to that 90% win rate. And that was before doing things like micro-pausing. So Holo comes and just blows it away. Like I said, Breathmouth didn't stream the 45, and it's just was like, all right, like I said, there's just this wall of 31s and no pause. That's really it. 85% win rate, and Holo's just like, yeah, hold my beer. 50, 70, 92. Holo beats the world record of 80 in pause with no pause, and then we go on to do like 117, 124. And I think it kind of broke people's brains, and rightfully so. This is phenomenal. It's absolutely staggeringly phenomenal. Not only does Holo play at a high level, Holo also does it in no pause, and Holo plays a ton. At my best, I was maybe doing 4 runs a week, versus watching Holo probably blitz through like a dozen or so runs in a week and just win all of them. Like, that's so crazy. So what kind of happened after this was a couple things. One, I think it kind of killed off some want of other no-pause players to get better, because they were chasing that cycle and they were chasing that world record. Yeah, like four a day. Yeah, could you maybe like 20 runs? And it was kind of seen as like sort of disheartening, because it was like, yeah, we're not going to get this. Like, we're never going to get there. Like, maybe if I get a little bit of lucky, pick up a strategy or two, I was going to be able to crack 31. And again, I think some of that also has to do with the inability to adjust win rate for actual chances of winning FTL or actually getting a cycle. I talked about it in another rambling video, but if your win rate is at 85%, like, you know, just all ships, 85%, starting off, you only had a 1% chance of getting a cycle. And it doesn't really scale amazingly until you're beyond 90%. And even then, again, you're talking like 4 or 5% chance from square one to get a cycle. So this idea of, oh, okay, like this is how good I am, which is not how it works. You can't pick your best win streak and think that's as good as I am. No, that's your acme. That's you being really good and getting enough fortunate RNG. But you have an average. Your one win streak of 30 runs cannot be used as your average because you're going to get really disappointed really fast. Holo did not really dishearten you. That's nice. Yeah, I don't think everybody had that approach. So, as I said, Holo comes out, streams it, no fleet pursuit indicator, no speed hacking, absolutely crushes it, and there sort of became this aura around Holo that Holo was like FTL God, fair enough, and nobody else was even close. So, they like wanted to be and talk to their communities about getting back in that bubble. Like, all right, that's an outlier, but no one's there. And it's like, well, you know, my win rates are pretty up there. Again, Burrito's win rates were getting up there. And then, you know, like watching Mike. And I always found it really fascinating how I responded to watching Mike versus how a lot of people responded to Holo. Holo got, and rightly so, a lot of credit for being really fast with his micro, and he was, but Holo did a ton of other stuff really well. Holo was way better about his scrap management in terms of higher level of play. Holo didn't have the panic. Like, you could see that happens in no pause, and you even in pause, you also get a panic, which is where things go wrong and you can kind of get too focused on one element of a problem and forget the rest of it. And no pause, it's really difficult because again, you can't just stop the game, go, all right, let me think about this, calm down, regain my focus, lock it in, and then re-engage with the game. That doesn't happen. It's just the chaos and you have to be able to figure it out. And that's one of those really tough elements in no pause, much like, you know, if you're like going into a fight against drones and you actually have to come up with like 12 different scenarios depending on what drones the enemy ship comes with and how you're going to attack it and how you're going to deal with it, you getting hit in no pause is like, all right, where did you get hit? What is its secondary effects and how important is that system and where are your crew to deal with that? And that's so much more. And you have to be able to respond quickly. I'm not a no-pause player, but I kind of figured that was it. He's on par with Holo, but his entire game is just so hard to reach that level. Yeah. So people were just like, oh, his micro is really good. And it started a kind of interesting thing, which is where, again, the discrepancy between pause and no pause partially grew. I'm trying to read into people's heads. It could definitely be wrong. But what kind of happened is this people were like, all right, my micro just has to get better. And that's like the difference. It wasn't just that. There was a lot of other elements to it. And that the micro just had to be faster, it had to be more, you know, accurate, more attuned, ignoring the decisions, but it just became like, oh, I can't do the micro as fast as them. I can't improve. Or there's nothing like I could inherently come to learn from Holo. It's just this crazy god. Which is like, you'll see sometimes when people lose, they'll just make a comment of like, oh, I can't believe Holo doesn't have these bad runs. Of course, Holo has bad runs. There are runs that are unwinnable, but maybe you're just not doing things correctly, you know? And that was another thing I kind of set out with like trying to just focus more so on win rates than cycling was like, all right, we're going to create like a bar and go like, Holo, 97% win rate. Myself, 97% win rate. Burrito, 97% win rate. Mike, 98% win rate, right? So, we got that. So if your win rate is not 97%, you're the problem. And people didn't want to do that. They didn't want to have the internal reflections. They didn't want to do anything. So it just became, Holo is God, the rest of us are mortals, And it was like, hi, I'm Crow Revel. I have a 97% win rate. Pfft, yeah, in pause. What? Yeah, you micro pause. Right, well, Mike has it, yeah, in pause. Well, Holo has it. Yeah, well, Holo's a robot. He's a god. What can you do? And it's like, well, that's pretty dismissive and brings up a really interesting point, which is a lot of also things you can within no pause. Yeah, I'm taking shots at no pause. Get with it. Is they would argue that if they played with pause, it wouldn't change their playing. They could react a little bit faster. They could lock doors quicker, but that was really it. That's the big difference. So you count my entire history, losing your users is devastating. Yeah. Well, there's like specifically, I went, where is it? Not back to this. Second. Nope. Wrong thing. Yeah, here. I go 6-0, didn't set up for phase 3, and then I go 17-0. Here's my PB. All right. Now, there were ones before this. I finally got FTL. I finally understand. I'm finally making good decisions with my 85% win rate. And lose a game, lose a game, lose a game, lose a game. I thought I had it figured out. I had it. Look at that. That's a 17 win streak. That's bonkers. People, except for Thomas, only are getting like in their teens. No one's really cranking out like crazy massive win streaks. How did I lose 4 in a row? That's so weird. And then Thomas looked at the runs and was like, oh, you could do this. Here's the thing. Maybe you had this. Looking at runs and was like, oh, okay. So like had an outside influence of it. But again, it's also like I said, I won 17 in a row and I went, oh, this is my average. I lose 1, but then I just win 17 times in a row. Nope, wasn't that good back then. This is my best. And then I set that as my bar and then was promptly humbled over and over again. And then, yeah, well, that's a bunch of stealth B losses. Got to my 27, and again, felt really good. Tried starting stealth B. I banned stealth B for a while. Then I started putting up, like, better and better numbers and continued to learn, and eventually did get to the point where I got a cycle. But again, that was a long time transpired between that. You can still see consistencies, 14 win streaks into a 15 win streak, into a 20 win streak, into a 10. You know, I think like Holo went 124 and then 3 runs later, you know, like lost in Zoltan C and then started trying to win streak again, or was streaking again, and lost like 3 runs in. Yeah, FTL is a difficult game. It's crazy hard. And there are certain things that are just like beyond your factor. Our no pause 84%. 92%, 91.19. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Again, like 90% win rates are still quite rare. And I also kind of started focusing on win rates in part because getting back to cycles. You don't know how hard someone's cycle is. You really don't know. I mean, if somebody, you know, getting to 124, there had to be some really gross runs. There really did. But, like, if you compare this 30 win streak by me to, say, Scott's 30 win streak, which one was the more impressive? I picked my ships in this one. Scott random in. Scott did no pause. I used pause. But in the first 28 runs, 7 of those runs were below 5,000 score. Because I win more consistently and can win bad runs, I can get hit with 25% of my runs being below 5,000 and still have an expectation that I'm going to win. So, like, ship-wise, maybe this run of 28, 30 ships was much harder than Scott's. And my cycle was really gross, but I don't actually remember what else was gross. 112. Yeah, no, you went on iOS, you went 111 and 12 for and only one. It's amazing. Like, that's disgustingly amazing. And it's weird, like I said. So, like I said, there's people who are able to put up like kind of consistent numbers and whatnot, but it does feel, again, as a pause player, there was like this pushback of this like, oh, well, you pause. And like, it's just this whole different game that doesn't translate into what no pause play is. And again, I thought it became pretty interesting where people are just like, well, I don't pause, so you pause. It's like, wait. Let me get this straight. I asked you, if you used pause, would it change the way you played? And your response was no. It wouldn't change much of anything. And yet, when we talk about win rates, you, as fast as possible, throw out that I'm a pause player. So is it a big deal or isn't it a big deal? And again, I think it really became this ultra focus on micro just being it. And so like there's a question of, do you think a no pause play that if they just suddenly touch the pause button, their win rates would skyrocket to 97%? Or more accurately, are you saying that this person's losses are solely based entirely on bad micro? Which I've almost never heard somebody say. Normally it's just bad RNG. Gross Mantis A runs? Like any ship can be gross, says person who lost in Sector 1 on Lanny B. Says person who lost. Yeah. So then again, there was certain conversations that got brought up about Mike and Grow, exactly. Again, about what was official, what wasn't official, and how to get better in FTL. And talking with some players, there, as I said, there are individuals who would give pushback as to micro being the important thing. It was always micro, it was never macro. And they were really resilient to this and really resilient to trying to get new ideas. Or in some cases where it was just like I talk with Farb, I talk with Mike, and like a lot. And then I still talk with other individuals who can be and try and find like everybody's insightful. There are times where people are just like, oh, I wonder what Holo thinks, because Holo's the only individual who possibly knows anything about this. And it was just like, again, there are a lot of really well-versed players at FTL you could have that discussion with, but it was just like the bubble needed to continue. The bubble needed to be held on to as a way of processing Holo shattering it, popping the bubble. Vastly different in a lot of spots. The fact that you can micropause causes you to make micro results you be but that your ship is weaker because you can't 100% micro perfectly. Yeah. There are definitely, like, in terms of doing like low reactor strategies, it's like we can talk about Stealth B. Stealth B, where the strategy is for pause players to do sensor readings of the enemy ships and toggle off your weapons so that your weapons are not on smart targeting. It is like 7% chance that your weapons are even targeted, on top of your 80% cloaking, and that's like your best chance. And again, that could vary for individual player. I was just saying, it was really interesting to where, like I said, oh, I'll talk about this. So like I watched, I was talking with Mike and we had conversations. I'd seen Mike's like video on like pulsars. You should honestly really watch Mike's video on pulsars if you're not good with dealing pulsars. Pulsars are still gross, but they're so much more manageable than you possibly know. It's kind of crazy. So Mike sends me a message and is like, hey, I'm gonna try and do like a stream on some probably absurd challenge run. And I was like, cool. DM Farb. I was like, hey, Mike's gonna go stream. You wanna check it out with me? Farb's like, yeah, absolutely. And we go watch Mike, And as I said, like 15 minutes into it, I sent a message to Farb. I was like, dude, so much better. He's paying attention to so many things that I flat out ignore. His micro is so much more on point, and he's just squeezing out advantage after advantage of things that I flat out didn't even consider. It's crazy. And so Mike was vastly more skilled than myself at that point in time. And yet my response was, oh, I could learn from this. Not that Mike is an unattainable godhood in terms of FTL play. And again, I feel like having conversations and listening to other streamers talk about certain things, like that is kind of the case. Perhaps what is a really interesting example was somebody once posted in a channel. We were having, there was a discussion going on. This was in Rand's channel. And the statement was about coaches and FTL. Like, you could coach somebody up in FTL. And I've helped a lot of players in FTL, either through my videos or just like one-on-one conversations. And the person had posted the comment of, yeah, coaching could be like an interesting idea, but you couldn't do it with no pause players because they have mastered the game. And like looking at that statement and trying to figure out how someone came up with it. And particularly like in Rand, where Rand was being helped by Sleeping Dragons and Mike, who are both pause players, and they were coaching. And so it's not, well, this person is like, it was just like, how did we get to that being a mindset in the FTL discourse? It could have just been a supportive statement. It could have been, you know, but it was just like, it was a real thinking of like, yeah, there is this element of where no pause is the real FTL, and, you know, everybody else kind of doesn't exist. And I found that really frustrating. Again, sort of highlighted by Empower's videos. I'm gonna drop Empower's name as much as possible because we know they're the hotness right now. They are the rising star. All our hopes and dreams of the one to bring balance to the force. No pressure. But like the video where it's just like, I look at like all the content Mike and I were putting together and how people can progress in FTL, and it's just being like, why are pause players being kind of denigrated, kind of backseated? Filthy pausing? Yeah, well, it was just like, yeah, you're a filthy pauser. You're just like, that's a casual FTL player. So, source of frustration. It's a source of frustration where, again, people in my community, people who have thanked, like my videos on YouTube, and again, this is speaking to personal experience, kind of feeling slighted within the own community and the sort of division of, look, you pause players do what you're doing at the kiddie table, but you indirectly, in terms of how the environment is, in terms of how the conversations go about, like, no pause is a thing. People who say this sort of stuff, do they actually play no pause? Well, I mean, this isn't inherently meant as a call out. I think it's just kind of like an active thing, but it's not intentional. I mean, the thing that's really important to understand is this isn't intentional. It's not like, be a cold day in hell before I say that a pause player's any good. You know, like shake my fist at somebody and, no. But like an interesting kind of like psychological thing perhaps is somebody would ask, say, Rand a question in his channel about like, why wouldn't you get scrap recovery arm? I don't know if anybody else has ever had to deal with that question. I don't know if anybody else had ever been asked in the history of FTL why you don't buy scrap recovery arm. But Rand's response is like, well, in hard mode, no pause, you just don't have the scrap. All I could think of is, why did you say no pause? It's true in just hard mode. It's equally true in hard, like, and there would be a couple times where like that just kind of became a thing where there was just just kind of slip in the fact that it's no pause, and it was just like, yeah, that had nothing to do with the conversation. And it's just like, again, it's not a you're a horrible person. It is just like an interesting thing that I noted, where, you know, it's just to let you know, that I play no pause, and then there's other people, and then those who say, because it stops you from buying buoys. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yes, that's all you really need. Oh yeah, it's 100% easier. Yet the caveat is that you have to have so much extra you can get away with pausing. You know, playing the force. I'm not reading swear words. I go with no pauses. See how many things can actually work. Yeah, I think that's fair. Is playing easy by comparison with cold hands? Yeah, that could be. There could be so many different little things in terms of winning in FTL. And again, like I said, when there was discussions about like what's official and whatever official, none of these are official. Not a single one of these things are even remotely official. They're because we can't verify a single player's files. Not a single individual went through all the hours of game time to ensure all the odds were adding up correctly, that they ran into the exact same number of ships you were supposed to run into that are awful, the same number of odd fights, fires were happening where they're supposed to. Like, it's so much time and so much information, you really can't sift through it in a discernible manner. You know, it's funny how it's like doing the FTL tournaments and doing the commentary and then looking back at my commentary. And Mike and I missed a ton of stuff. It's just like, whoa, wait, that was a really weird decision. I didn't notice that, you know, Burrito or Sleeping Dragon's like, what? Why did they do that? I completely missed that. And so being able to like just dig through all the stuff and being like, well, I don't know. Like, it's legit. Did somebody have to change files? Again, you know, there was an update to FTL, with the 6.9 update, which changed the AI. It actually changed how the AI functions, and in some ways made it harder to get crew kills. And we had to adapt to it. Thank you for Farb. It's Farbin time. Is it amazing, impressive, his delusion? Yeah. 2 runs going on, and effectively no pop. Someone's got to do it. Well, I mean, you, I guess you have to. I try not to think about the things you do. It's disconcerting. I have watched all those 100. Yeah, there's a lot. And again, that's not me saying, do I think Holo in some way, like, no, I'm saying you can't check this stuff. And here's the other thing, and it almost came up over here, but I decided not to do that. Here is the thing, is backseating. Backseating in FTL. What is the significance? What does it matter? You know, and it's come up more of late. It was, I would say, not good backseating based. iOS is superior because you can play it in the... Yeah, that's... See, yeah, that actually doesn't count as a cycle. The fact that you're just at maximum comfort level at all times. How? You know, if you're streaming it and you got the stress of it. Yeah. So, in terms of like backseating, giving information of a player, you know, if you don't get backseated while playing, is it really cycle? Being relaxed and watching TV passively increases win rate by 9%. Oh my gosh, So the reason I bring this up is because, again, there was this idea of like, well, you have to stream it. You have to stream it to be official. Because elsewise, you don't know. Fair enough. But as a streamer, your chat, they're not, look, I'm not encouraging this. They're just going on their own little things. They're on their own little journey. But what if chat suggests something that the player uses? And that's what saved a run. I was in a really bad spot once. I think it was Sector 3, probably. And I ran into a ship with triple ion blast burst laser 2. And I was just like, oh, this is very bad. Where my ship was, and I was just trying to think of like, okay, okay, this is gonna happen, and I was just going through all the bad potential outcomes, and then someone in my chat is like, oh, so you're just gonna flash shields here, right? Oh yeah, that's totally the thing, you flash shields, and so like at the 8 seconds, and you bring them both up, and then you can, yeah, no, that's totally what I'm going to do. Because of course it's gonna be something that I'm gonna totally, but was I gonna think of that in the moment? And because I survived that fight, did that enable me to win? So that one piece of information potentially allowed me to continue a streak. So what does it matter if someone's getting 40 pieces of information? Like, in terms of like drawing the line, but maybe they would have been fine anyways. Right? And then also the problem is just somebody like posting really obvious stuff, then that doesn't count. Oh, they told you to hack shields with your 2 halberd beams. Yeah, they've been doing it every single fight. Nope, that's, you know. So again, are we gonna start sifting through every single VOD, looking at all the comments and going, okay, this hit 13 helpful tools, 6 are sort of neutral, 5 were actually wrong, because of course chat is wrong more times than they're right. But these two were really important. And so now that doesn't count. And again, it's an element that doesn't really be, that was not particularly discussed, was the fact that chat can influence the player. And chat can be like, hey, you forgot to turn on your oxygen. Oh, thanks chat. That's super helpful. Is more co-op than PvP. Oh, no, this isn't inherently why I'm helpful. I'm inherently just helpful. But teaching other people good ideas in FTL so they go out and play at a higher level means that they'll get ideas of a higher level that are more accurate, and then they can kick back to me. The rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing. It's because we're not really in a competition, per se, so we're in a tournament, that helping other players elevate and be better can be helpful to me as well. Listening in chat may have cost Rand his latest good streak. Oh, the NGA thing? Well, so I would argue that Rand doesn't get anywhere. You could argue that the chat got him to a certain point. And what really needed to happen in that fight, like there's 40 other, 50 other, hundreds of other decisions that mattered before the flagship fight. If we're talking about that, back cloaking to help stack ions. So I recalled this happening because there was a discourse that happened. Somebody made that exact same comment in YouTube, and I found it hilarious, and I still find it kind of hilarious. I get what you're meaning though. Rant, like, there are other things where other times in FTL streamers and like helping an FTL streamer where it's like you say, and I'll just sidestep it for now, where if you tell somebody a new idea and a new strategy, it can be very difficult to implement that. Like if you've been a pause player for a long time and then I show up and I'm like, hey, you know what? You can just micro pause and run 3 reactor light. Being able to incorporate that whilst you're in the middle of a streak is really hard because it took me a long time to incorporate it and get comfortable with it. And so inherently, it's like learning the sensor strat on Stealth B. That got me killed a lot more than I normally get killed on Stealth B, which was already a lot. So like learning the strategy got me killed, but now I execute better. And so it can be a really tough thing to incorporate a new idea. So Mike had suggested, not stated as a fact, because Mike tries to be really good and generally is successful at just posing an idea, and you can think about the idea, but ultimately the choice is yours. So if you're like somebody, that starts in 49 seconds, somebody posted an idea in Rand's channel, and then he, of sound mind and sound body, decided to utilize it, that's chat's fault. No, that's the streamer's fault for listening to chat But also, is that the only thing? Was there more to it? Reading the strategy explains the strategy. So, like, if you watch that fight, Rand did a myriad of things wrong in terms of the strategy. Didn't get the slug out of the hacked room, didn't place them on weapons. Of course, Rand had already lost a multitude of crew from a miss micro that had occurred earlier that was also really impactful. And his weapons were really, really weak. And, oh, we're gonna head an ad soon. So, like, again, all those things led up to being in a tough position. And I personally think that hacking evasion was better, that it tends to be better with ions. But Rand only had, like, a heavy laser to do damage. Like, that's not remotely safe. And then after the reset, because there was a reset, you know, did the shield hacking and just, like, constantly stack on shields, but really could not stop all the other weapons. It became hack shields, shoot shields, ion shields. When, like I said, just off the top of my head, I would think, like, you hack evasion, you dump everything into shields, and then your weapons try to disrupt. But, like, the heavy laser by itself can disrupt so little. Like, it's really good at crew kills, but we're now in an ad break. What were the weapons then? So I can answer. So the weapons, I want to say it was a charge ion, an ion blast 2, and a heavy laser. Yeah, burst. Yeah, it was an ion blast 2. You can watch it. Let's get something else too. So, yeah, and like a heavy laser, and I think like a drone. And Rand also was really slow to send out the drone. And again, Rand is playing no pause. So, like, if things are going wrong in pause, you can correct them to the best you possibly can. In no pause, it can take a while to understand that there's a problem and that it needs to be addressed. And by the time that happens, it can actually be too late. Missile hack. Look, again, Rand had 2 weapons. Well, had 2 ion weapons, a drone, a heavy laser 1. So couldn't deal 3 damage to any system. So no system was going to get offline. I think, again, in terms of making decision, and if you want to blame chat, it was Sleeping Dragons who suggested that Rand buy mind control after losing 2 crew. Because instead of waiting for cloaking, because like I said, the chance to like counter that. Again, you're the player. You're the one making the decision. If you are deferring to chat that heavily that you are sort of incapable of judging where an information is or what you need to do, like, I like, that's just so not chat's responsibility. If somebody in chat ever says something that I give Farb a hard time about a stealth C fight where Farb had made a suggestion and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good idea. I'll just put all my crew at low health so I don't have to worry about mind control. But one of my crew, a fully trained Mantis, got hit with the MC plus the 30 HP heal of being hit with a mind control and started literally 1 to 2 shotting everyone in my crew. The Mantis just went on a massacre and started killing everybody in my crew. Is that Farb's fault? So, hold on, just It was not Farb's fault. Farb was not to blame that time. Just this once. Hey. This would be right. Yeah. That's kind of Mantis, the Massacre Mantis. Oh, it just started slaughtering the crew. And like, I didn't think about the healing. I didn't think about the Mantis being targeted. I didn't think of any, I could just put them all in a room and have them kill each other. I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. And it almost cost me the run because I executed it poorly. I don't know if I have a clip of it. I just know it was a stealth C run. It ended up being a victory, so I probably did put it on YouTube. But I'll have to find it. Hi, Galaria. How's it going? Oh, wait. No, now I just read your message. Never mind. You're banned for the 4th time. Good job. I was laughing too hard to clip it myself. That's fair. I definitely saw it. I don't remember whether there's a clip of it. So, yeah, like I said, in looking at that fight, well, okay, I'll give it. Dolphin Chemist recently was on a Zoltan C run that died. And Zoltan, he got to the flagship, and I want to say he had Charge Ion, Ion Bomb, and like 4 projectiles. I think it was like either a Burst Laser 1 or a Charge 1 and a Heavy Laser 1. And how do I remember all this garbage? So in the fight, he went shield hacking, ioning shields, trying to shoot shields, and it fell apart in phase 2. And my thought processes was, okay, if you hack engines or piloting and charge everything, you dump the ion bomb and the 3 charge shots into shields, and shields are evaporated. Shields are completely down. They get hit with 7 ion damage, and they're completely down for 25 seconds. And then, because the evasion hack and shields are down, you can put the 4 projectile shots that you had into missiles. And now you can put out your drone and try and pick apart things that you had. And another benefit of it is I believe he was pretty light on reactor. And what ended up happening is he got well, this also excludes the part. He had forgot to swap back over to a DD1 when he had a hull repair. So in between phase 1 to phase 2, equipped hull repair, healed up the ship, but forgot to put the DD1 down. So there was no DD1 up to shoot missiles, nor was there DD1 to shoot the boarding drone, which landed in weapons and breached weapons. He was able to kill the boarding drone, but had not really had the reactor to power like level 2 oxygen. Again, if I'm a pause player in that situation, I probably could like put level 2 oxygen up there and then just for my dodges, slam all that power into evasion, get them, and then move the power back. No pause, it wasn't really gonna happen. Shields down for 25 seconds for 3 power is, yeah. And then like, so you can then kind of try and pick it, and the missiles are down. So then you have the ion to kind of try and hit stuff and go from there. So there was a breach in weapons. There was not enough oxygen. The bot gets killed. The breach gets repaired, but there's just no O2, and there's no power for O2. He removes the crew, which loses the ion bomb because of Zoltan. And then the boarding bot slammed into Clone Bay. And now there's this real problem because, again, could not power O2. And the fight's kind of going on, and not a lot has happened because all they've done is tagged shields. And it's just like, well, like in the way that I would have done it, shields are down and missiles are down, and then you can kind of pick apart, try to with the shots that you have. And again, they're going to be 5% more likely to hit because you have hacking on those systems. And, you know, be able to go from there. So like the boarding bot landed in Clone Bay. So Clone Bay gets pretty much almost instantly vented because the O2 is still pretty low. And then trying to defend it, he tried to reset the fight, but unfortunately there was no safe place to jump to. Everything was under control, so he could never swap back to the DD1. Then tried again to do the fight. Again, tried, I think, to do the shield dunkage one, which is like, that's a strategy and that's what killed me on my Federation A bad run, is I just should have hacked shields and dunked it and like take my chances in terms of a DPS race, but just there wasn't enough DPS on the side. Brain turn reacted to plan before you fight. Yeah, I think there was, it just, like, I don't know how to save Rand in that fight. Like, I honestly, like, I couldn't come up with a strategy that certainly works. And that's kind of why it was crazy. Someone's just like, oh, like, Rand would have won. Like, what do you mean Rand would have won? Like, didn't get out of phase 1. You think phase 2 just goes super easy, and then phase 3, like, yeah, you get through the ions, but like there's so many different parts and things. Like, you weren't getting crew kills. Like, that was the other thing, is he kind of was, I think, a little bit committed to doing crew kills. This is a bad thing that a lot of FTL players, including myself, did. And again, this is like the Federation A loss that I had on the really super bad run. I'm so used to like flawlessing ships. My approach was, I'll just flawless the flagship. That's a really good idea. I just didn't have the capabilities of doing it. I didn't have cloaking. And I just needed to get into a DPS race. Yes, being able to kill off crew in phase 1 is a really good strategy. It's really helpful, but sometimes you just don't have the tools for it, and you'll occasionally see people die because they chase crew kills and they just take way too much damage, and they don't always get a free hull repair afterwards. Scott did that once. Scott took, I think, like 14 damage and took a ton of damage chasing crew kills on a drone ship and got a hull repair drone, so was able to fix up and then win. Yeah, so it's one of those things where, like, again, you learn a really good strategy. It definitely seems like the right thing to do, and so you just kind of apply it without fully thinking through all the other options. Like, it just happens. Phase 1 crew kills, I mean, honestly, it depends. There are certain times where it's almost like any amount of damage is worth it. I think Empowers had a run recently, Stealth C. So Empowers had a Stealth C run recently where they got hacking, but they could not find cloaking, couldn't find cloaking. And so in Sector 7, hit 3 stores, none of them had cloaking, but 2 of them did sell systems, and there was a teleporter, and went teleporter. And also had a whole repair drone. So like during the fight, I didn't say anything, but I was like, you have to get the crew. Like, your chances of winning are entirely dependent on you crew killing the ship in phase 1. Because then your strategy is punching down missiles and not having to worry about them in phase 2, which frees up the ability to hack and do all these other things. And then everything just gets so much cleaner, so much neater. And if that doesn't happen, then there's a whole lot of other things to consider, and it's a whole lot messier. So even like, it was a point where I was like, if you took like 14 damage, if they took 14 points of damage, Empowers took like 14 points of damage, did not have the hull repair, but got the crew kill, it would have been worth it. Because it was just that much more, like, you could essentially escape because there was going to be a surge and you did not have cloaking for it. And so being able to just pay 1 power bar to teleport over and kill their missiles so that you could hack, I think they hacked shields at that time. I might have made an argument for an evasion hack, but like then everything else fell into place and it was just like a lot cleaner, a lot neater. Of course, phase 3 could have been completely awful, and it was like, oh, maybe. But I think there are definitely times, particularly with like Fed C is another one of those ships where like Fed C, you need the crew kills. Like, you cannot, under most circumstances, particularly with a hacking build, just go, well, I guess we'll just shoot them. Like, you don't have amazing offense. You just can't do that. So yeah, it depends, as everything in FTL. But I think it's generally just based on how much easier it is to get through it, where your defenses are in terms of, like I said, for boarding strategies. I think it's like paramount that you kill off the entire crew. That you're normally planned around that as like your pathway to victory. And then with like weapon ships, again, you always have kidnap strats. So that's an important thing to remember, is like kidnap strats work really, really well. MC teleport and hacking. I got hacked in my hacking. Oh, that's so gross. The flagship and fish 152 ASAP reduce damage. Felt like much safer. Yeah, that could definitely be the case. Like I said, yeah, acknowledging that it's just the DPS race because you couldn't reliably use hacking. Yeah, so like, in that kind of like hacking, you can't use it as a boarding thing. So you're like, well, I can still use it sporadically to help my weapons, and then that's kind of the best case scenario. And then again, you set up for kidnapping and try your best. Sure. I think like if you have a teleporter, it'd be, like I said, it's really paramount. Actually, I had, this was long ago. Yeah, this one. Federation A. Look at that score. Look at that score and that huge L. Yeah, that was me. I didn't set up for phase 3 because I was super confident. I just had this, I had that one in the bag. It mind controlled my pilot because I didn't know about anti-mind control strategies for replacement. It then fired 3 missiles, which hit doors, burned them down. Think piloting with some secondary effect, and then breached somewhere else. And so the boarders now just had complete and total free reign on my ship and ripped me apart from the inside. Overconfidence is a slow and hilarious killer. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was just bad RNG. They started, like, if the missiles hit differently and they didn't mind control my pilot, I would have been fine. Doesn't count. So yeah, I said, I think the chat discussion is interesting, and I look at it a little bit like when we were doing the runs where I had Thomas, Farb, and Mike and conversing with myself, it really became hard to focus on a lot of like the little, like there was just no natural flow to what was going on. It was like, we're in a fight. Okay, let's talk about this fight for half an hour. And just going on, and then you would talk about a strategy, and then you weren't going to hear that for 15 minutes. And try and swirly in terms of it. It was just like, it was such an information overload every single fight. We got to finish this. Oh, you still have the Salton Sea run? Yeah, we went teleporting on it. Fun. So yeah, like I said, I think some degree you should listen. You should, and you know, like people have ideas, and sometimes people can get wrong. I've definitely given wrong advice before. I guess as well. Let's see, Ryan actually lost phase 3. Is very frustrating. To avoid or. Yeah. So like, again. So this is like interesting, like a different perspective between like Burrito and myself. But Burrito had talked about getting long-range scanners late makes sense because you want to build up on scrap because you have to buy a lot of engines. The argument. I was like, okay, I could see that. But like that ship, Fed C, Lanny B, and Mantis B, I generally just try to make a beeline to the flagship because I don't feel 100% safe because I don't have Christmas. Ow. He has a video of me saying that. I almost said it again. Not this time. Not today. Yeah. So like I said, that was sort of a weird thing in terms of like help, assistance, and that conversation. Like I said, it was an element that just gets completely pushed to the side of, oh, you have to stream for it to be legit. Okay, but if you're streaming or you have somebody helping you, what about that? I mean, I do firmly believe you can backseat somebody to victory as long as they're willing to, particularly with pause, that you can just go, whoa, here's a better idea, here's a better weapon loadout, or essentially you're stopping somebody from potentially getting themselves killed, and then they are able to achieve victory because of it. Yeah, totally can happen. Anyways, so like I said, looking at this list, it felt like there were issues where it was like a lot of people were kind of playing different versions of FTL. Behind both because potential amazing scrap, not amazing scrap decisions, a bad scrap. It has edge sector 13. We'll never not be mad about that loss. Oh yeah, sometimes some of them are pretty haunting. Like, there was a long time where like a singular run could get me pretty tilted. Like it was just like the run in which you're just waiting for RNG to finally turn around. Just like, come on, give me something. You've just been like low scrap, bad store, sector after sector after sector. Like eventually you have to be able to do something. And as I found out in FTL, no, it really doesn't have to do that. It can just destroy you forever. And then it never does. Yeah, there's just nothing. Like I said, that the Fed A run that I called the worst run ever. We actually got I bought our first system on a Federation A ship was in Sector 8 or Sector 7. And then we actually found the store in Sector 8 and I was so elated, and it had mind control but not cloak. And I was like, I deserve cloaking. After all that, I deserve cloaking. FTL does. What a brutal run. Yeah, so the thing was like, I kind of wanted to give this more context, a little bit more creative. Also, there's kind of like, this was sort of chronological order, but then we just started putting numbers by their streaks. And then it was like, well, so when inherently did these streaks maybe happen? And then people started doing different streaks. Like, one of these streaks was in iOS. This one I picked my ships, but I didn't use cheat engine, and like those kinds of things. Comfortable playing without cloak. I literally never got a system die to a weapon hack on flagship. It's gross. I mean, it's a rarity, but yeah, like it's just, those runs totally exist, and that's kind of why it's always really baffling to me, I guess, where like I very much learn and am off to like blame myself pretty quickly, or I particularly now, because I can just like go like, okay, here are the decisions that felt like actual decisions, not this is definitely 100% the right course of action that I can look back and review. So like I said, in the terms of like blaming myself first, where other people can kind of make a decision and then they just want to jump to it's bad RNG and then just kind of move on. Is the iOS version? Yeah. Some of the things you can do. Well, the other thing is like, I assume Racka is playing paused on iOS and does no pause. So Racka, yeah, this is all Racka's fault, really. When I think about it, everything was fine until Racka decided to do the thing that Farb tried to do and ruin things as well, which is they got a cycle on iOS while being a no pause player. They got no pause cycles and they got an iOS cycle. And it's like, that's confusing. I mean, I could write iOS next to it. Maybe people know what that means. And then like we have these asterisks for no pause. That's kind of a thing. I guess these are, and also I started struggling keeping track of, because like some people would have streaks going over, and then I was like, oh, I should just put the number at the end because it's ongoing, and it was just, ugh. Hard no pause, and yeah. So that kind of like, outside of no pause, some of the runs, how many ships they run in pseudo chronological order, there is like not a lot of context, and talking with people about cycles and approaches to it. Every once in a while, there's like a post on Reddit, like, what's an official cycle? What's an official streak? Use 7 asterisks with pride. Yes. Actually, so while this was going on, the first no pause cycle was trying to go on. I did a poll over on Reddit, which was like, okay, let's come up with official rules. What would you like to see the official rules? And the consensus was kind of all over the place at times. Like it wavered. Like some people, like Cheat Engine was really wrong, and then Fleet Pursuit was okay early on, and then Fleet Pursuit became more wrong than Cheat Engine by the end of it. Where, like, I didn't know if, like, I figured what happened in a lot of cases is, well, two things. Either you just wrote down the way you played as the right way, or you're a viewer of a particular player and what they do would be considered the official way to play. And so if, like, somebody posted it somewhere in, like, somebody else's channel, like, if you posted it, say, like, oh, like, I don't know, I had a Discord. If somebody posted it in Discord and then everybody runs over and they're like, oh yeah, Cheat Engine is totally fine, but Fleet Pursuit is a bunch of garbo. Hashtag Crow is amazing. Like, you know, that thing that my audience typically does. Because, you know, I rabble rousels. I try to, you know, hype myself up and get you to turn against other people, so to lift myself up as I rightly deserve. Thoroughly on a sheet, so I don't know if you don't want to. Those are the best, right? Yeah. All right, fair, interesting. Where's the free rhythm involvement into that? Hold for edit. Anyways, yeah, Crow is interesting. Exactly, Crow is interesting. So, like, those were those, just like I said, little problems. Anyways, by the time of the end of the by the time we got to the end of the survey, I asked the interesting question of, if the official rules were implemented and they were different from yours, would you change the way you played FTL? And most people said no. Now, were those people ever having win streaking or trying to get a cycle in their mindset? I don't know. But I think the real consensus happened to be that most people would just play FTL the way they would play FTL. And that was a really interesting thing. That was a thought that was put into my head by Mike when like I said, I had a 10-page script talking about all these differences. And not even this list shows all the different variations in which people play FTL. But what Mike said was, some of these things, what they do, their biggest factor isn't that speed hacking, you know, helps your mental IQ. Using Fleet Pursuit Indicator, you know, you're so much more or less likely to miss a jump or to have routing issue. It was, these tools help keep players engaged in FTL. Like, that is their real benefit, is the fact that using speed hacking to speed through stuff meant that you got through the boring part and you could get back to being engaged and playing FTL. Whereas, like, if this was banned, some people would be like, I just don't. Like, because I know it's optimal to train all my crew, to go through all of that, and now I can't do it, and then I'm going to lose because of it on some stupid 1 out of, like, 200 chance. I'm gonna be mad about it because I wanted to do it this way, and I don't want to do it. I'm done. On hot viewers, is that gonna yeah, don't buy viewer. But I would actually not care at all if Cheat Engine was outlawed. That's fair. So I did an experiment because down here, this streak here, I did not use Cheat Engine, and at one point, I think it was run 29 or something along those lines, I had Zoltan C in an Ion Storm against a heavy Ion, and we farmed it. I honestly can't remember how long it took. I think it was close to 80 minutes. It could have been as little as 70. It could have been as much as 90. I don't know. It was really long, and viewers asked if I could bring back the speed hack. Like, that's really tough not engagement. Now, again, you could be like, well, you could just, you know, other people look at cats like Frank, or you play Fallout guys or whatever it is with like Overwatch Dolphin. We used to play whatever, the hexagon game for a bit. But then, of course, you don't have speed hacking with iOS. So, like I said, I thought this list and updating the list here could be informational. Well, obviously, it's going to be information, but it could give a lot of context and maybe give people some notions of like, oh, like it's okay if I pick my ships or do whatever, or like whatever I find that helps keep me engaged with FTL and not feel like someone's going to show up and be like, your streak isn't legit. So says me, the arbiter of like nothing, and not questioning, not denigrating people and that kind of garbage. Oh, you did training on your full, grueling, painful training? Do it all. So in terms of, like I said, I thought that was like interesting information. So names of the players, of course. I'm not 100% certain. So Holoctime still has, I guess, the world record here at the 124. Neozar is still ongoing, so I can list it as ongoing. I was using plus signs, but I figured some people may not know what that meant. That is like, it could be more, but then if they died, it would set at 28. And so that, like, I don't think anybody actually paid that level of attention, but it just helped me keep track and let people know like, oh, these people are still streaking. Maybe I could go check them out and see what they're doing. Logic was losing because of not training, just a skill issue. It's update the sheet. Actually, when we had those conversations, I go, thanks, Empowers. You know what? I was in O'Heckett's next channel before the stream, trying to figure out if I was going to stream, and I'm making dinner. I heard you call it hot earlier. Oh, you should be hearing that like all the time. Those are the things that matter. Yeah, that's the true skill. Like I said, I mean, Empower knows. Like, there's people saying things, giving suggestions in Power's chat, but Empowers knows how to filter out the unimportant information, really lock on the key ideas. Streamer not is going to carry so I can get my extra asterisk. Yeah, so I don't know if I want to do that. Because again, I screwed, well, so who screws this up? Thomas screwed it up. Thomas didn't stream everything. Had a clean, fresh save file, did stream stuff. And one of the streams was a Fed C where I think he got dunked down to like 3 haul, 2 jumps in. And I was just like, and then went on to win that run. And it was just like, man, if you were going to stream, you'd only stream the easy ships. And you definitely, yeah. His ideas. Yeah, I think it's like, well, I said during their last Stealth C run that, you know, picking up Teleporter was a really good decision. It was easy to keep going, like maybe there's going to be a store in Sector 8, and there was a store in Sector 8, and it did have cloaking. But did not buy Firebomb, which chat was like, oh, you should definitely buy Firebomb because you have rocks and that's going to be a thing. I don't know if I want to switch like Ion Bomb for that because it's far more useful. Also the right. Yeah, so in terms of like, where's the proof of these streaks? That kind of would lean into the category of, oh, this person didn't stream at all. Not legit, moving on. And it's not really what I wanted this to be. I mean, it's not inaccurate information, but a lot of it was to kind of just like, you know, maybe throw a couple fun facts here and there, but also to just sort of like, hey, some people do random. Some people select ships. It's totally okay. It's totally fine. It's not a big deal. And also, like I said, there's some people who are like, fleet pursuit indicators, garbage. Like, that's a huge advantage. Actually, hold on a second. I'm gonna show you something here. Let's get this just a bigger. do a little bit of a fun thing. All right, so I got fleet pursuit indicator here, and here's jump 3. There's the jump 3 of the fleet. No beacon is overtaken until the 4th jump. Okay, that's neat. Restart, yes. Jump. Hey, look, there's the 3rd jump, and no beacon is overtaken until the 4th jump. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Hanger, yeah. Let's just can't even quick key my own menus. Jeez, Crow, are you ever gonna play no pause? There's 3rd jump. No beacon gets overtaken to the 4th jump. I actually ran through a bunch of these, and there is actually a map in which the no beacon gets overtaken by the 4th jump. But you're good for 3 jumps 100% of the time. I did think it was potentially interesting that you could like determine where the curve could be by the 1st beacon that could like most likely be taken over. But like I said, the 4th beacon wasn't overtaken, but it would be like, all right, so it's here, then the curve is gonna kind of have to be like this to eclipse that beacon. But yeah, so fleet pursuit indicator, this information you shouldn't have. I mean, again, you know your jumps. You know them. You know you're good for 3 jumps. You can probably plan pretty accordingly. So it's actually going to be really tough to like go, well, I didn't know I could get to this beacon in jump 4 for my sector routing. I'm not saying it's impossible for that to happen, because it is possible. I'm just saying it's super ridiculously unlikely for that to occur and for it to matter. And then, like I said, people who don't like this then throw up some sort of screen capture measuring tool device to essentially squeeze out all the beacons anyways. And it's like, yeah, it's the line between those two things is much closer than the line of people who don't use any of those tools versus whatever non-fleet pursuit measuring device you utilize. So there it is. In case you didn't know, in case that was like a thing, as somebody who doesn't use fleet pursuit indicator, is there potentially a helpful thing? Yes, it's so exceedingly rare. FYI. Like, no one is going to like, oh, the difference between somebody getting cycle and not with fleet pursuit indicator. Wow, unlikely. Saran wrap in iOS? Yeah. I did force myself into a dive nearly, leave the dive sector C years ago, which I think you guys were there for. Yeah, I remember that. With fleet pursuit indicator, but it was routed through complete skill issue and totally preventable. I didn't guide because I'm never punished. Yeah. Well, that's really the best skill. Don't ever be punished. It's really, I mean, you can watch runs where people make like a lot of like what I would consider mistakes. They can make a lot of mistakes and then they can still win because of sheer luck of not dying. Like, that's it. They just somehow miraculously stuff lined up and they didn't get murdered. And what's like, it's interesting how they respond to those runs, because they're just like, oh, every decision was good and right. No. As I've talked about it before, where like people can turn an average run, shoot themselves in the foot, and then it's a really difficult run, and like, but it would have been fine if you just made better decisions early. Yeah. So the fleet pursuit, like, so here's a really funny thing. I'm gonna bring this back just for a little bit. So, Racka doesn't use fleet pursuit. Burrito doesn't use fleet pursuit. I don't use fleet pursuit. I was doing some goofy around runs and I got stuck in a dive because I misread the lines because I was not used to fleet pursuit indicator. Racka got in the tournament and Burrito both in the tournament with the fleet pursuit indicator, took accidental dives. So it actively makes me worse. Just not used to it. So I had to practice to actually get used to it. Skill issue. Yeah, me, skill issues. Sure. It just matters how big the mistakes are. Yeah, I mean, hi Farb. How's it going? You having fun? So Farb was mistiming cloaks, and it turned what should have been completely safe fights into really terrifying fights. That's how I lost on Stealth A. I mistimed a hack. I was off by half a second, and it got me killed. That's it. Half a second. Expertly played throughout the run. Half second too early. Couldn't time up my weapons against a rebel rigger. Instead of dealing 4 damage to all their vital systems, being able to take them apart, I got absolutely annihilated. What where I accidentally died was not the fault of Fleet Pursuit Indicator. Right, you just didn't check your routing. Sure, and again, you were rushing. I'm just saying that Fleet Pursuit Indicator didn't save your run, though. Like, all right. The conversation about due diligence, and I guess I'll have the conversation about due diligence. So, bringing this back in. So, Fleet Pursuit Indicator, if you don't know, it puts these little dashes, and it does show you where the fleet is off the screen. So, if you want to route this sector, you go, okay, I have 11 jumps. You know it instantly. It is instant knowledge. I have 11 jumps, except there's a nebula here, so that does change things because it doesn't tell you about nebulas. Unless you use Masala's, and Masala's Fleet Pursuit Indicator has all the normal jumps, all the nebula jumps in normal sectors, and as well as the indicator for Uncharted Nebula and Slug Nebula sectors. Yeah, no. Look, some of you in here, I don't particularly care for. I wouldn't do that. The small joy I would get for ruining you would not make up the fact that I would be inflicting that harm on myself and a couple people I actually enjoy. So we're not going to do that. Not going to do that. Right. So you can just go, boom, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. That's it. Sector's completely mapped. Did it in a second, and it's perfect. Every single jump I know is good and clean, and it was measured all at once, and I don't have to do any of it. I know I'm good. Sure, that's potentially beneficial. And like, particularly sector layouts where there's like an exit beacon and a long chain of beacons. I normally do it like kind of like a bad example, but it's like this beacon connects here, and if it was after, like, let's say if it had jumped this way and down through here versus this way, it's like, okay, I could map this, and then I have these like little safety jumps before, so I could just make a beeline to here, be like a jump or two early, and then I can jump around to this and maximize my jumps. But to make this call, like if the routing's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6, like trying to figure out that and spacing all of that out is a bit of a challenge. It can be because you're not measuring like 1 or 2 jumps. You're measuring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps in advance. So trying to do this 6 times and be accurate can be hard. So you really designed the skill tree Path of Exile. Could be. Is that gonna open a chat? Hey, Shadow. So, like, there's that, but there's also the problem that these lines aren't, like, super 100% accurate. They're close. They're closer now, but, like, there are some jumps where, like, I probably, without Fleet Pursuit Indicator, may not be able to take this jump. But again, I have extra jumps, and I have my own way of measuring via counting dashes. Like, if some of them are, like, really close to the line, there's less skimming. Yeah. MSP as far as it can do is 100% accurate. There you go. Knowing the first 3 jumps and where the fleet would be the biggest range for... I just don't think it is. Because like I said, you just know... Fan paint. Like I said, I would find it difficult to really come up with a map to show that there is a significant advantage. I think there's an inherent advantage, but anyways, we talked about that. Due diligence. By due diligence, I mean it measures all the beacons at once. Okay, this is also in the same category as people who use Cheat Engine to farm experience, right? So if you don't know, Cheat Engine is a program that can be utilized to increase the frame rate of the game so that if you're in a safe fight, you can just speed through the process. Actually, you can do more. You can actually just like go into the game and set your character's stats to, which is even faster. Only show the lines after the fleet came through. Sure. It's too close to call. Yeah, there's still going to be like too close to call situation. Less so with it, but So here's the question. I did training without Cheat Engine, and then I used Cheat Engine to do training. I try the best to ensure that I only use Cheat Engine for the things that I already would do it for. Or things that I already do. So like training crew is something I do, but I almost never cross-train. NTB sometimes, maybe Mantis B, very, very, very select cases of which that would occur, but I don't typically cross-train. Now, let's say that you know somebody, you don't have to name names, you know somebody who never did training, didn't really ever do training, sure as heck never did cross-training, gets Fleet Pursuit and starts cross-training. Is that a problem? Well, you never did it before, okay. So then, if you think that way, here's the next logical question. How many times do they have to do cross-training so that they can use the mod and be okay with it? Once? Is that enough? Okay, you did it once just so you can use the mod. Are we going to count? You have to do it 20 times. If you want to use Fleet Pursuit Indicator, you have to measure every single beacon on the map 20 times with witnesses, and then you're allowed to use the mod because you've proven due diligence. No? So... like, it's not what I do. It's a personal choice that I made to not do that because I don't do that. I also think, like, it's so tough to get a benefit out of cross-training. Mostly, just don't lose your crew. You don't really need to do it. Yeah. So like I said, like, the more interesting, and we never really got into that, and I don't have it on this mod, doesn't have it, but in the hyperspace mod, it like shows you like the timing on your weapons, and you could argue from due diligence, you should have level 2 sensors. Like on every ship, you should just have level 2 sensors. Not actual level 2 sensors, but you wouldn't be able to know the crew type, that's too much. But I should be able to know the charge time on every single weapon so I can use the sensor strategy. Because I do know it. I know how much crew, if there's a crew in that room or not, and I know how much time that weapon has. So I should have a mod that tells me all the weapon times of all the enemies. Always, including the flagship's artillery systems, because it's due diligence. And we'd be like, well, nobody has that. That would be super, like, but like, how much would that information be relevant? How much could that information be used? How helpful would that be in terms of strategy? But due diligence, like, I could just argue that I know that. I do. I know where the crew are, which I do. And so I just have something that helps me keep track of all the weapon cycles and all the enemy cloaking cycles. I know that as well. I know how long it'll take to fix something. As it feel ties into the using the wiki. Yeah, we can talk about the wiki. Let's talk about the wiki. Want to talk about the wiki? So that's not on the list either. I got 12 minutes before the next ad. We might do a bit of a full break, and I should get something to wet my whistle because I've been talking. So, if you do not know, there is a wiki, which is Outrider and Mike predominantly. Shoutouts to them. Oh, the Mike's page. Yeah, you also have that one too. These level 3 sensors are? They're wild. So the wiki, what is predominantly used for is quests. So you can go to the wiki and go, okay, here are the outcomes, and super importantly, the percentage of those outcomes. So you know what your risk is when you're engaged with every single quest. Always, if you use the wiki. And we're like, we don't like backseating, but it's totally okay if you know exactly what percentage of stuff, even though you never did any of the work to figure that out. You might know some of the outcomes, but you might not have paid enough attention to know what the reward pool is. And some stuff like bad events could happen 2 times, so trying to figure out how often they actually occur Well, you didn't do any of that work either. It's just there. And recently on my I think it was my last B run, I didn't look up the quests in the wiki, and I ended up in an ASB fight. That was really dangerous, and if I looked up the quest, I sure as heck wouldn't have taken the event. Uh-oh. I mean, like, so isn't that just... That's backseating you can kind of agree to, but some of that information, like I said, was because people went into the game, got the hard data, and then they put it out there for us to use. And I could argue I would just write down a lot of the stuff myself, and true, but its accuracy would not be there. Maybe, and I still would have to have all the outcomes occur and keep track of all of them. Fun fact, apparently, Chewbacca, who has never hid the fact that they use quit reload exploits or strategies, whatever, they don't use the wiki. Don't use it. Like, no, it's all me. I still say that's the funniest thing in all of FTL. I like that just was where the line is. Nothing is funnier. Nothing will ever be as funny as that. Quit reload apparently has a micro to help reload the game faster. If you don't know what quick reload exploits are, you know what, let's go take our break now. Take our break now. I'll run some garbage 1 minute ad, and we'll come back to it. And then, but we just get to leave on the moment of and use the wiki. Fun. Thanks everybody for hanging out for this silliness. So. All right, I was just touting my level of professionalism, but this is white. The lettering is white, so you couldn't see it without a backdrop. So I had to bring over FTL so there would be a screen up, and then I explained that while my mic was muted. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. See you on the other side. 3 minutes. Level 8 engines before 5. No. Oh. Engines are low-key underrated. Oh, what? Look, I would like to go to bed at some point in time. You know, if we could, please, maybe. Engines. So my general philosophy on engines is if I'm in trouble, like, engines make sense. I mean, Mantis B, of course, is the one where you upgrade engines ASAP on that particular ship. And then if you can get training that way, if ships are running away at level 3 engines, you can jump first. So you don't have to dive 3 times in sector... Did I do it? Sector... But, like, if you're in a situation where you're not confident you can win fights and you need to get out of them, and none of the upgrades are going to help you win fights, engines can be far more reasonable than, like, shields. Decisions! Second. Oh, Dern started this. I didn't note that Dern had started this. I'll talk about, like, LRS. I've done 2 videos talking about long-range scanners. 2. I have my value video, which I spent 2 months on. Streamer liked to about how much they disagreed with it without watching it. It's okay. It's okay. I'm over it. And then I did one about scouting sectors, which I got 8 minutes. People should be really proud of the fact that I made that video only 8 minutes long, because I was going to explain what dives are, when you should dive, how the dives are different, a bunch of other little things, and I was just like, dude, just get to the point, just do that, leave that all aside, which is an important thing in making video. One of the most difficult elements in videos is editing your own content. Like, I think it wasn't my values video, but there was like another video where Mike had some comments about it, and then I looked at it, and then I gutted certain sections of it. Not because of anything Mike said, but because I thought I could just be more efficient, and then I presented, and Mike was like, oh, that's a lot cleaner and more direct. Quad dive, no. Go to LRS twice in a row. I thought you'd be happy to hear. Thank you, Dern. Should be, but you know who should be really happy? Happy with you. That's with you. High score win streak. Oh, are you? I mean, I'm not judging you, Sharif, but if you're just trying to get on Badger's good side, respect. well, that's just my game. I have way more than the normal. Win streak in years. Badger has a good side. Look, I have not the mental faculty. Debate that one. Where were we? What are we gonna discuss? I don't know. I left off at some point. I was just trying to be amusing and forgot. Tutorial exploit. Oh yeah. Dang. Oh, the wiki and due diligence. Well, no, yeah, like, because we talked about the wiki and we talked about the information. Something buying buoys in addition to LRS. I'm not going to get an augment discussion. Again, I have an augments video. It's there. You can look at it. But yeah, no, I made those 2 videos and then I got like 3 or 4 comments by people who are just like, long range, pay for themselves. What do you mean they're not good? Made a video about it. It's 45 minutes long. So, as far as the updates, like I said, so the player's name, makes sense. And I currently have a bunch. I don't know if I'm going to keep it in this order, or if I'm just going to do it by players' names. Kind of like the idea of like the first person to do it does get mentioned first, but then multiple people have done cycles. And as I said, it's potentially, or it doesn't matter so much because, like I said, I do put these like kind of comments like, this is the first cycle that was completed as far as we know, and this is the first no pause as far as I understand it, and kind of showing those distinctions. Ship selections, which we talked about a little bit, like random versus selecting ships, or however you want to do it, because certain points at times individuals have like picked, they like random 3 different ships. I think, yeah, Frag does this. Frag was picking 3 ships, or randomizing 3 ships, and then just kind of picking the one that they wanted to play. Awesome. However you want to do it. No quit has a base response on Reddit. I'll have to check it out. I was trying to do research to try and fill in some more of the gaps. Imagine not listening to the free. Okay, again, we don't need to mention this alleged free weapon button, a certain mash command that's already been brought up and already put down as not being real. I do think about it. It's not. It's not. There's nothing there, Badger. Are you okay? I'm gonna turn on this gaslight and hope it helps you see that there isn't anything there. Okay? I just maybe you should go get yourself looked at or something. By a professional. Okay. I'm only doing this because I love you and I'm trying to support you. I was in another channel and they were talking about like just people being bad in general. And I wrote a comment about gaslighting you is how I protect you from yourself because I love you. And people were like, we know you're kidding, but you seriously almost just got banned. Like you almost got banned forever. And that would have been fair. 10 years ago, I think a good general tip I would give somebody is to save scrap for exactly what you need in the store and immediately spend anything extra on important upgrades to their ship. Needing a weapon, keep anything scrap. If anything beyond that, right, making it stronger. Too often I see people level 2 edges shields loading to a scrap while getting destroyed by enemy ships. After Scott got the cycle, Scott kind of like pushed things where Scott, if you never watched Scott, you should totally watch Scott's videos. Entertaining, but Scott would just be like, I'm just gonna roll 1 shield in sector 1 because if I die because I only have 1 shield, the game is stupid because that ship could have killed me first beacon. So it just makes sense that you should be able to run 1 shield through the entire first sector and be fine. Like, was the general used to float an absurd amount of scrap all the time. Do you not believe his life? Yeah. So, I mean, the difference between no pause and pause is, oh, that shouldn't say random. That's not, it should say no pause. Oops. Pause or no pause? Random! Oh, so they just pick between the both depending on the run? That would be crazy. So, random versus ship selections, whatever. So, part of the argument, it like benefits and, like I said, what's good about it, what's bad about it. Well, we're talking about Scott. I'm so glad you got the cycle. Good old Scott. Scott was a trooper. Scott really got me into crew killing. Like that was the thing that really stood out about Scott is just all the crew killing he did. He did so much crew. It was just like, wait, what do you mean you're gonna crew kill this ship? You don't have a teleporter? Oh, I see. I remember now. So, just a quick explanation. If you're randoming and back our By the way, this has registered so many losses on my file doing this stuff. It's disgusting. Go to the hangar. So you have this random ship button. If you're doing random cycle attempts, you want to run through all 28 ships, you hit random, and you get a ship. And if you haven't used that ship yet, you run it. And if you have the ship, like you've beaten Stealth B, you just hit random again until you find a ship you haven't won on. The other option is you can pick your ships. I know you did want the one that happened. Maybe. Well, who's to say? Who's to say? I work in mysterious ways. Now, the other option is you just pick your ships. So, strengths and disadvantages of those two different. So, if you're doing random, you don't know what ship you're doing. Though, some people have gone to, I don't want like a strategy or whatever, but what they can do is like, if you're playing like one run a day, you'll do your run and you go, let's see what we have next time. Oh, I have Rock B next time. That's cool. And now I get a day to think about all the Rock B stuff. Right? Like you can have that. So there's still like, you can still do prep if that's an issue, just depending on how frequently you stream. So that, I would say, is inherently not, like, again, the random is this. This is it. That's, there. It's simple. You hit random, run the ship if you haven't run it, hit random again. That's it. That's all. That's just the thing of it is. You can argue that this version of FTL is playing to get a cycle, beat all 28 ships, all without losing, that if that is your goal, randomizing your ships it presents a different challenge, because if you have a bad ship that you really don't like this one, and it lingering at the end of your streak, Stealth B is normally the one ship everybody refers to as being the worst ship in the game, because the game in terms of win rate. Having it last, and essentially, if let's say you're laying like 50% on it, you can do all the streak and then you have a coin flip at the end. Versus if you pick your ship and you put Stealth B first, what you do is you now have the 50%er at the beginning. So you're not winning on Lanius B, winning on NGC, winning on Zoltan A, generally considered like really consistent win rate ships that you know you're inherently going to win on, and then get to the ship that kills you. Try and get the bad ships out of the way. And what this really is, it's a time save. You still have to win all the runs. You do. But by putting all the bad ships earlier, you're not inherently, as I said, wasting time by doing all the good ships you feel you can already win with. Those be bad and should feel bad. Yeah. Who was it today? Empowers. Whew. Oh, so get Empowers in for the hour. The Empower Hour. Empowers, I think, rolled Stealth C 3 times in the randomizer in a row. Stealth C, Stealth C, Stealth C. If you run the shit, if you can tell if you hit random, well, I guess you can't tell with Fed C because it doesn't have any weapons deployed. But see how the weapons come out at the start? That's how you know you actually did hit the random button. Yeah, exactly. There's another good thing about like being able to like, oh, I don't know. Is there an animation on Fed C? This is, no, right, we're now doing this. No. Thanks for contributing. For derailing and be wrong. So, like I said, the picking your ship thing, in terms of prepping, yeah, but you could also just like, if you don't do that, you can show up on a day and just be like, oh, I just don't feel like doing a boarding run. Or there were times I absolutely didn't stream because I wasn't mentally prepared to do a Stealth B run. And I was like, look, I do random. It could be Stealth B today. I'm not prepared to do Stealth B. I don't even want to stream. And like, that's kind of unhealthy. Like, I mean, it makes sense to not to like do something along those lines, but it actually like negatively impacted me where as I said, there are streams I missed because I just didn't want to be in it. But if you're picking your own ships, you can be like, I'm in the mood for this, or I'm in the mood for that. And another benefit, or I guess a hindrance I should say, about doing random runs is if you lose, well, then all the ships are back on, and you could go months. You can go months without playing a ship. Uberlook just posted, I think, in Farb's Discord, that between like losses, resets, and randomization, it took 92 ships before they ran Roxy. 92 before they randomed into Roxy. Sorry, 10 times more drain than actually play the run that might be. Yeah, no, it can be. So it's like, wow, picking your ships is super beneficial. It's really good, amazing. Here's the problem, though. You play Stealth B, you lose. Guess what you get to do? You get to play Stealth B again. Then you lose. Guess what you do? You get to play Stealth B again. And then you win. And you're like, cool, I'm going to go play NGB now, because I think that's the second worst ship. And then you lose. Guess what? You get to go all the way back to Stealth B and get to play that again. Then you win, and then you win, and then you run into Rock A. And so all you're doing is grinding the worst ships with your highest loss rate over and over. Try doing that. I tried starting streaks with Stealth B. I got so burnt out, I banned it for like 2 months. I just didn't want to play it. I didn't care. It took you 140 runs to play Crystal A for the first time. Yeah, like I just want to do, like I just want to play something or get over there. So that's, and again, this is more efficient of your time. It is more efficient of your time because beating 28 ships is just beating 28 ships. It is more efficient of your time, but it is more mentally taxing in that regard of the grind. There's also something to say about it mentally taxing about Stealth B looming in the background. That Stealth B is just there, and no matter how good you feel about yourself, no matter how good you're playing, you could just jump into a Beam 2 drone, first beacon, and you're dead. That's it. And then it just feels like everything before that was a colossal waste of time. But you're beating all 28 ships. Like I keep saying 28 is 28, and that's what it is. Then, like, so once you complete 28, like I said, you ran through all the ships. You did. So I look at something like Thomas. Like, Thomas won 80 victories in a row, but selected their ships. Got randomized and got 30. Ooh, so what's the difference? How big of a difference is randomizing for 30 versus picking for 80? 80, because they went through all the ships twice. Wasting time for your win rate perspective, at least you can actually summon Badger stats. So, in general, my take is this is a personal choice to help keep you engaged. You know, like being mentally sharp so that you can go ahead and stream and play a game with, I don't know, a little bit more fun, a little bit more interest. The thing about random is like, yeah, like grinding the same ship over and over is not particularly entertaining. So that's also debatable. Some people like to watch somebody sit there and die playing Stealth B 7 times in a row. You get below 6K. Strats. Yeah. That's... like I said, that's ship selection. However you want to do it. It's not... Again, random, as I said, it does... The benefit of picking the same ship So, as I said, Stealth B is the biggest problem causer. So let's talk about this. Stealth B is the trouble child. It's the one that most likely is going to end your streak. It is the ship, generally speaking, that is the lowest win rate along all the ships. Run Stealth B first every single time. Essentially what you're doing is you're negating the hardest ship from the challenge. I think that's a fair argument to say, because all you're doing is running it until you win. So you're essentially designing it so that the hardest ship doesn't even count. And that definitely feels different than if you're just doing random. It's very much going to exist. Its win-loss rate is a factor in your likelihood to be able to complete a cycle. Like Racka and GB type of ships are. I started tracking some of those in order. I think Holo does as well. So, I don't know. Racka, I'm currently on a 19 win streak in a row. NGB, I hit 19 in a row as well. So I did that. I don't know why if anybody else didn't do it. 17 streak with Stealth C, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, Stealth C is my one ship that's not in double digits. And I like Stealth C. I think Stealth C is a really interesting ship. Yeah, so I still say cycle's a cycle and you get it. But to me, if you're like starting Stealth B at the start of your streak every single time, just give yourself the win. What? Like, you still have to do it. You still have to play it. I get that because you actually have to get the win. But it's just like, look, I know eventually you're going to win on that ship. You're good enough. Whatever. Maybe you just wait until you get a first jump pre-igniter or a first jump bulk, whatever it is. And then you just win. I don't think people are just like so ridiculously unskilled that they just need like the like God run with that ship to win. That's not inherently the case. But like I said, it is, if we're going to put prestige or whatever it is, it's like, yeah, you just made it the worst ship not count. Okay. Still one had to go on and win like another 24 and 1 with Racka. Yeah, teleporter meta. Like that's one of those things is where like a meta. I was really interested for a long time here with I have numbers somewhere. Piled win rate. Oh yeah, this is it. So I was keeping track of like everybody's win rates, but like provided win rates. For some people, I kept track of their stats themselves because I'm a loon. And I would put them in here. And then like I was kind of keen on the idea where there would be like a spike in a particular player's stats and be like, oh, what are they doing that's so good so that I can learn from them? That was the goal. I've stopped doing this. This is relatively recently that I've stopped doing this because I don't trust people's stats, and tracking other people's numbers was frustrating. Where I'd be like, oh, I was tracking so-and-so, and now I have to go back and watch their videos. So that, because like, I would just have to go back and watch all their videos, and that, I was just like, you know, keeping track of this is one thing, that became another. Like I said, of people who didn't have stats, because I just wanted some information. And I was just like, I'm done. I don't think fundamentally these numbers are going to change anymore at this point. Like, in terms of win rates, on like Stealth B is always going to be the bottom ship. NGC is probably always going to be the top ship. Yeah, I just, like I said, I leave it here just because there was that information for whatever purposes it was, but it became... And then the other thing is, like, what's the cutoff point? Like, my stats go back almost 1,000 runs. So this was in my infancy as an FTL player. And same thing with Holo. Holo's stats go back stupid amount of runs. And then there's like more recent players, and it's not their problem. Like Empowers is keeping track of their stats, and Empowers doesn't even have 100. They would have a 97% win rate, or 98 something. I think they're like 76-2 or something or other. Lost in Stealth A. We all have the one loss on a strong ship. I have no idea what you're talking about. Look at this. Look. Did you see my win rates? Look at this. Gastrel B, no losses. Slug C, no losses. And apparently even Roxy, no losses. Yeah. There's definitely not any strong ships whatsoever. You know, there's not any whatsoever that are like unbeatable that I lost on. Get skilled, yo. 7.4%. Nice. Slug B. Yeah. So that's, like I said, I know there's a thing where some people like to pick their first ship and call it random. I disagree for a myriad of reasons. I've talked about this before. I can point out that all the people who do it claim that it's cool because they forfeit runs, and then you ask them what their win rate is, and they're like, it's 80 or 90%. It's like, well, that doesn't count forfeits. Every single thing I've ever seen involving competition or wins and losses, a forfeit is a loss. So you don't really count it into you didn't have any intentions of running it. Like, I don't forfeit Super Bowls. I don't it's fine. Everybody understands why you do it. Everybody gets it. Just like, it's so weird to be like, I explain what random is and it's simple and straightforward. And then they just go through this process of doing a completely different thing of randoming, forfeiting, until they get to the ship that they want to start with. If they go through that process, just so it's random. And it's like, that's clearly not what everybody else is doing. They hit random once. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not a prestigious. Again, I picked ships. Billy One Kirby picked ships. I just let it be what it is. I just don't get, like, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, there became like this prestige element to it. And like I said, I said the difference between, like, you pick Stealth B all the time and you can just kind of eliminate the worst ship from it, whatever. You're still getting the 28. And like, no one's making billions of dollars. No one's making thousands of dollars even from this. Like, that's like a huge thing. We don't have established rules. It's fine. But there's like some, I don't know, spirit of the law. So, like, this random existed for a long time and was run by a bunch of people the exact same way it was encountered. And then it just kind of crept in this idea of like, what if I want to pick ships because I just want to get the worst ships out of the way? Because isn't it unfair? So Farb randomized Stealth B on their cycle. They did. They randomized Stealth B first on the ship. Isn't it unfair that they... Yeah, that's what random is. Did you know that? Did you know that if somebody randoms and another person randoms and there's 28 different potential outcomes, those might not all be the same? Did I put something weird for Racka on selecting ships? I just have random. SA paint is for how they measure things. iOS you have down was not... Oh! Apologies. Thanks for that. Random. Where's the iOS? Here. Cheated. Okay, good. Now we got that out of the way. Finally comes to light. That's it, everybody. That was the whole point. It was a sting operation to get Racka to admit they're a filthy cheater. Busted. Case close. Oh, wait. No, select. Oh. That's fine. Oh, I'll just final fact. Once you get down towards the end, feel free to use an alternative picking method. Like, you don't have to keep, if you're on a 27-0 streak, you don't actually really truly have to hit random until you get to the final ship. Like, it's set outcome. I had each ship paired with a similar bad ship. I would random one and then play the one in the set and get me a nice mix. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Whatever. We went over the measuring tools. So some people use them as paint. Dolphin has of Jeff Bridges. Cheat of paper, the illustrious cheat of paper of one Billy, one Kirby. Just puts it on the screen. I think Mike used to use contact paper and just have like all the map layouts and do all that stuff. A lot of due diligence, and then went Fleet Pursuit. Racka, could you stop cheating? 5 minutes, please. 5 minutes. Just once. You use a roller ice cream? Sure. Yeah. Like, I count dashes, so kind of show this, because sometimes I'm just jump. So again, this is small polygons, and then the other screen I got down, so it's not. This is a pretty decent beacon to show it, right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See that? 6 dashes parallel. It's actually slightly, because there's like a gap here, it's slightly less than 6 is a clean jump. And when I can use that, that's how I determine if a jump is good. So that's my cool, complicated process of understanding it. Yeah, I think Farb told him that I count dashes and he, like, called it Barb. Again, it's parallel dashes, so it makes sense. That was me. Yep. But a Farb helping out his old pal Crow. As long as we did, but it's essentially not random. Yeah, like I said, random is very easy. It's a very easy, straightforward process. Some people try to make it more complicated. Other consolidation for FBI. Even if we banned it, making sure people don't use. No. Yeah, that was the other thing. When I talk about the rules, you can't. How would you know? How would you know that somebody just didn't have an overlay on their screen? Like, oh, hey, did you see that Billy One Kirby looks slightly to the left? It might have been Kiki. But perhaps as like a secondary split monitor screen that has all the measurements out on that. Bum, bum, bum. No, one's gonna. Like I said, the thing is the information that you're not supposed to have, but as I pointed out, since no beacons are overtaken until the 4th jump, at the earliest, it's really, really difficult for that to matter. Yeah. You know, I mean, it'd be a little bit different if I'm like this, playing FTL. I'm like, huh. What is that jump there? I just, you know. Yeah, that's 2 jumps, everybody. Figured it. I just, you know, I just got a real good look. There used to be, actually, supposedly you can actually count like the little hexagon images here, but there used to be a mode on Dolphin's channel called Dolphin Floof, and it was whenever he like really looked close, and all you would see is the top of his hair. Is it cheating to have the FTL sector guide open? No. Like, we talked about the wiki being open and how, like, that provides you with information that you may not internally have. Like, barring, like, the notes that I make is fine. I was just looking for my moth on my screen. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Oh, oh, there's just so many. Squirrels. Yeah, there's just a squirrel running around on my screen. It's apparently mute. Doesn't make any noise. It was a scampering. Oh yeah, no, they're the worst. My mom had squirrels and months to get rid of squirrels. Months to get rid of squirrels. She had like 5 traps in her house. And they would just burrow new holes into the walls. Pest control guy 05. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, they're pests. It's just fun. Like I'm vegetarian, and they're just like, I think actually like no, the mice that we use lethal traps on, and the squirrels would get caught in these like slip cages when they actually ever bothered to get caught. Like nothing has ever insulted you as a human being more in your life than when you find a trap with the bait removed and it's still emptied. Okay, no, I'm sorry. That's the second worst thing. The worst thing actually is being pulled over in your car to be given a ticket by a cop on a bike. My dad told me that once. He's like, there's nothing worse than being pulled over in a car with a cop on a bicycle. I was like, yeah, okay, I guess. And then as I was driving, I saw a car pulled over by a cop on a bike, and I laughed for like 4 miles. Those squirrels, just possums. Yeah. I don't know. Just seeing with their little helmet, sunglasses, spandex, and little short shorts, and they're like, "Do you know how fast you were going? Not fast enough, because I caught you on my bike." Ding ding. There's a Pests are pests. Like Farb has an infestation of children. Just they're doing like dances. Like, and there's just nothing he can do about it. They're just omnipresent. Oh, you want to interrupt us? Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah. How's your school day? Nothing can be done. Chicken nugget. Your insatiable thirst for chicken nuggets. Felt like Farb was happy. Look. Badger. Did you think that comment through before you posted it? Like, that there would have to be a response by Farb, and what that response could perhaps entail? As an FTL player, I feel like it's really important to measure the potential consequences of your actions. Kentucky. I always have to say Kentucky just because of Last of the Mohicans, and that's how Daniel Day-Lewis. Because I like to in Last of the Mohicans, using muskets and running and shooting down people dead-eyed, no problem, as muskets at the time. Snakes. Speed hacking. I guess we haven't really actually talked about speed hacking. Those are snakes. You abandoned my win rates. I abandoned my win rates. So speed hacking, good old. What? It's somewhere. Oh, oop. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some people haven't even seen what this thing is. Center problems. Yeah, this is the old cheat engine. You can pick file, open process. You go to FTL, boop. Selected, enable speed hack, and crank up the frame rate of the game. So again, as it says, we know we're not in the middle of the fight. We make our crew really zoomy. Except we make that's awesome. There we go. Yeah. Zoop. Zoop. Yeah. That's the real pro tip is to wow, it's so fast. Like, this is faster than when I normally run it. Anyways. Yeah, that's what it does. So you can speed up fights that are generally you want to do safe fights. Some other people use it a little bit more aggressively. So you can do it against things like crew kills, returning oxygen back to your ship, cloning your crew. Generally very, very slow processes. And by using it, like I said, it's a time saver. Now, saying that, and as a person who uses it, what are the advantages? Well, like I said, it's a time saver. So if you're streaming or a broadcaster, you don't have to sidetrack into a different game or be incredibly boring for however long it takes you to get your training completed, because it can be a long process. So that's really nice. And there's other like things you can use it for, like if you have to shoot down all the enemy drones to be able to hurt them offensively, you have that option, as well as some O2 hacks. Like if they have level 2 oxygen and you have an ion blast 2 or like a charge ion, it's like technically possible you can get a crew kill, but it takes like so much RNG that even with speed hacking, it's pretty much not. Yeah, that is quite the augment. I just imagine I'm temporarily there, you know, and oh yeah, all right. 5 times speed hack. So that kind of stuff, like Farb did that. I think Farb did a 2 times run with like Slug C. So yeah, that, like I said, that's the process. So the questions or the debates like for or against it, and I bring them up. One, there's the debate of due diligence. Are you training because and you've never trained before, just because you have speed hack? But again, how many iterations would the individual need to do to prove that they're allowed to use speed hacking? I mean, I will still judge those individuals. So much judgment, but whatever. Use it against enemy drones. It changes behavior. So I know Mike made a video where Mike shot down a DD2 and shot down it without using speed hack and shot it down with speed hack. Good casual claim about actually due diligence. So I sort of deferred that Mike did it, but of course Mike could have just made it up. Or that's fair. Like sometimes it does, like drones can seem to act a little wonky. But the thing is drones can just act wonky. Sometimes they like, well, of course, some save reloads. Sometimes there's problems with like beam drones will like shoot completely off screen, or Farb once had a case where a beam drone like shot inside the shield bubble, like had a shield bubble. The ship still like shot him. Yeah, theory. It takes forever. Yeah, that's fair. No, I get that. That definitely drones can get a little wonky. And there's also some statements about that the speed hacking could disrupt elements, underlining elements of the game in ways we don't know. But it, in fact, could just be making the game harder. Perhaps it's making it easier. Don't know. Came back online within 3 shields. Yeah. Also, we need to note the FPS of which players play at. I don't have that note down, but yeah. The crew movement thing, not the other thing. Why, I'll talk about both. Okay, so FPS and FTL does actually impact the game, because we were just talking about speed ranking stuff. Yeah, that's how we'll side into it. I don't care at all. The people who take it down drones just by personal rule. Yeah, no, like I said, a lot of people just kind of have personal rules or just like a note or something along those lines. I didn't mean to help this out. So I think Farb was the one who really tested this. Farb found out crew moves slightly faster at higher frame rates. Like, inherently not significant enough. I don't think we're at the point where somebody's going to be like, when I'm boarding, I want this to happen, and I want slower crew movement, but I want to crank up the frame rate when I need to, like, go fix something on my ship or something. It was at 60 FPS to 170. So, I guess some people's versions of FTL, their crew are moving faster because they're operating at a higher frame rate, and probably none of them know. And again, it's pretty negligible. Like, it's not. It wasn't our trusty. It's turned off now, but it wasn't our trusty like zip. They just kind of like teleport over to a different room. Oh, that's a thing. That. Yeah, it's all the streaks are invalid. The other thing, which became a thing more so recently, but it's actually an old thing, is hacking. Hacking. I have a video somewhere testing out, just seeing crew moved a little bit. So, hacking in FTL at level 1 in terms of 1 to 2 shield bubbles, and also at level 3 in terms of 4 to 5 shield bubbles, is not consistent. I didn't do any testing. Masala Sweeze was the one who did testing. This was back in 2020. So, Masala, and this is posted in the FTL Discord. I don't think they posted it to Reddit. So Masala was just like, hey, it's inconsistent that drone bubbles go down, or shield bubbles go down. I wonder why that is. So, and it was like, I wonder if it has something to do with frame rate. And then 10 minutes later, Masala comes back and says, at lower frame rates, it's very consistent. So Masala ran 30 tests at 165 FPS. And it took down 2 shield bubbles 18 out of 30 attempts, which is not a very gigantic sample size. 18 out of 30 attempts at 165 FPS, 2 shield bubbles went down, which meant that the other times, 11 out of 30, 1 shield bubble went down. At 60 FPS, 30 iterations, 19 times, 2 shield bubbles went down versus 1. So yeah, I fudged my numbers. Sorry. Now I just made it. So at 60 FPS, 19 out of 30. At 165 FPS, it was 18 out of 30. Again, not large sample sizes, but very much in the same ballpark. However, if you lock the frame rate of FTL into 30 FPS, it becomes 100%. That's what Masala discovered. So this is Masala figured this out, found this out, and posted about it in, as I said, 2020. Like, that's cool. We all kept playing FTL. But I know recently that somebody has actively dropped the frame rate of their game to 30 FPS. I don't care in the extent that everybody plays FTL the way. Again, I don't inherently care that you're speed hacking. I don't inherently care, or don't, or fleet pursuit indicator, or don't, or randomizing your ships or not, or no pausing or not. But there was this idea that this was a bug that needed to inherently be fixed. I've never seen anything from Subset Games saying it's a. In all my years of playing FTL, I have never once been told by anybody, hey, you're gonna play FTL, remember to lock it in at 30 FPS so that hacking works like it's supposed to. I've never heard that. I looked at Subset, I didn't find anything in any patch notes, any bug notes being of that case. I asked Rackagack if on iOS it's the 50-50 split. That's so. Obviously, I opted not to engage in the use of that. And while I think Fleet Pursuit Indicator and speed hacking are predominantly quality of life options, again, I have, even on the things that I utilize, pointed out that there are benefits to them. It is, I don't even know what the intended interaction is. But if you are speed hacking lowers win rate ironically, that's true. I have seen some people die because of speed hacking. Yeah. I guess you could make a certain argument about if it's used predominantly for training, and training is very unlikely to kill people, but people get killed because they speed hack and they don't realize their OT off. They speed hack and they don't realize it wasn't as safe of a fight as they thought too. Yeah. Well, was that the 24 with Rand? Rand thought there was a safe fight against a drone on, I think it was like NGB or something, and sped hack, and the fight wasn't actually safe. And by the time he got there to stop the speed hack, he was dead. This is Barbarino's tests. Just play. Oh, so you're just like moving the crew? What are your notes? Difference of time it takes a heavy laser, 20 tiles atop. Yeah. Oh, because you were doing like treadmill testing. Yeah, so above sensor strategy on Stealth C or Stealth B, what you could do is, and Mike really talked and pioneered this as far as I know, was you would move your crew a certain amount and use that as a timer to judge when the weapons are, so that your crew could be back in position and you didn't have to use like the sensors exploits, so like this weapon was going to be charged more, as well as having maximized dodge. So it's a half of a tile in 20 tiles. Okay, yeah. So that's the split at running high frame rates. So being able to get back to like the hacking at level 1, hacking at level 1, effectively taking 2 shields down every time is demonstrably powerful. You can, I think, very easily come up with a lot of scenarios where it's exceptionally beneficial. Example, you are running Zoltan A, you're a bit strapped for cash, you go for hacking, you find no other weapons. I mean, you do always have the Leto, but now, in going into Sector 3, which is when 2 shield ships become prevalent, there's a few exceptions in Sector 2, but it becomes more prevalent in Sector 3, you do not need to immediately invest 35 scrap into hacking. Don't have to do it. In most circumstances, you would absolutely, at that moment, need to spend 35 scrap after 2 sectors, which is generally about 250 scrap. So you would have to invest, I don't know, 15% of the total scrap gain that you have to get the weapon online, or you're just not going to be able to clearly hurt ships. Yeah, no, it checks out on me. Yeah, so I have a video about like explaining budget and scrap spending in FTL. Delaying 35 scrap for a full another sector, which is debatable that you have to even use it then, and in terms of consistency is massive. Like, that is such a phenomenal... So you can kick it out and go through another sector, which generally is going to add like another 150 scrap. Instead of taking 15% of your scrap total, it's going to be like less than 10%. And to know that you're effectively killing ships. The other thing is, in terms of strategy implications, you can... Let's say you have a pike beam and a heavy laser. We're being silly. If you have a pike beam and a heavy laser and you're using to like take down shields, and the enemy, like, you don't know whether they're taking down 2 shields or not. Optimally, what would happen is 2 shields drop, pike beam through their ship, and then your heavy laser generally is going to be their weapons, right? And the pike beam is going to reduce evasion, heavy laser is going to hit. It's awesome. But if you don't take down 2 shields, then you need to hold on to the heavy laser to fire that first instead of second blade, and take down the shield bubble to set up time for the pike beam. And there's going to be this like reaction, because like I said, it's just off by a few frames of time. But essentially what it does is it guarantees that your weapons are always going to be maximally efficient. And then even later on, like if you're in a really bad scenario late in game and you're able to find hacking, but like I said, you're behind, you don't have scrap, what are you going to do? Well, it's okay, because the hacking's going to take down 2 shields. It effectively forces it to be a dual laser that never misses. Again, I've never seen anything quantifying this as a bug or a problem ever. I still haven't. It only became a topic of discussion once Masala discovered it in 2020. So as far as I know, the game released in, what, 11 years ago? Nearly 12, yeah, 11 years ago. So in like what, 2013, for 7 years, it wasn't anything. And now, even after Masala, years later, some people have tried starting to use it. And I don't understand how it's not technically a mod, because I also could not duplicate it. I couldn't get my game to run it. You would have to use like your graphics card settings, as far as I can tell, to lock the game rate into 30 FPS. Not technically a mod, but that is not vanilla FTL in my opinion. And again, also at level 3 hacking, you would 100% take down 5 shields, but those are so exceedingly rare. There are many cases where the frame rate and armor in the game plays on forced delineation to different categories. Yeah, like Mario Kart 64 has different categories for PAL and NT. Yeah. Oh gosh, I remember GoldenEye. So this was an in-game thing, so it's different. So GoldenEye, there were these speed runs, and then someone came through and they smashed all the records, and it was something nobody ever heard of. And they're like, yeah, all right, pal, sure you did. Sure you did. Okay, maybe. And then they watched the video, and what happened is the person running it was just staring at the floor the whole time. And the game could render the floor sprites faster. There was just less information for the game to render, so it just natively ran faster. And then there was this problem. People were like, oh gosh, we're all gonna have to play GoldenEye looking at the ground. Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's a completely different category. Like, again, I would say, I mean, no one's completed a cycle using that strategy yet. Yeah, the top of the camera for lag reduction is a thing, but I said my piece on it. I don't. It's such a. To take one of the most powerful systems in the game, arguably one of the most powerful systems in the game. I mean, most people, like, whether you want to say shields is better or not, the thing that you generally on all ships want to get, and to make it more effective, delay having to put scrap investments into it. Like I said, even if you have it late game and you're up against 3 shielded ships, guaranteed taking down 2 shields is a boon that you can do it reliably, versus like if they're 2 shielded ships, like if they still have 2 shields up with evasion, it's just like that much harder to get through. It's a bigger advantage than anything else on here. As far as stuff that we've discussed, I think I would generally agree that it's more an advantage than any of these things, I don't know about pause, no pause. That's repetition or whatever. Definitely more an advantage than any of this stuff. Definitely more advantage than speed hacking. Again, it's not a quality of life. It's not like, you know, like my PC, like if you had a PC that, like, if it was working that way for everybody else and it didn't work that way for you, or create, I don't know, some like really weird timing setup to have as a whatever. Like, yeah, there could be an argument where like it's a quality of like, what was it? Binding of Ice, it used to have brim snapping. If you don't know what that is, Brimstone was a really powerful ability, but people found out that it, like, if you look down and right, and like if you look down and then to your targets while spamming the attack, it could happen like a lot faster. And it was brutal on people's hands, but it made it so much more efficient. And if you just found like a micro that ran that yourself, like, I don't really care as long as there's transparency here. Don't be coy, don't try to rationalize certain things. Yeah, no, again, I'm 100%. It's like, I don't care. Just call it what it is. You indeed remember brim snapping? Yeah, I knew a little bit about the Isaac community and the Necrodancer community had a pretty decent overlap. Yeah, so like, the people who use it, like, stipulate that they use it, but quantify it that it's a bug, and it's not. I've never seen any indication that it's a bug. It's definitely not vanilla. Like, it's not, and it, like I said, provides an advantage, a very easy to discern advantage, very tangible advantage. Flashed by eyes when I was watching Northern Lion. It's been my puny child brain tenfold. Nice. Oh, the wrinkles of my brain. Because like I said, in terms of like advantage stuff, we have. Yeah, I don't know about this comment. So cheeky swipes. Yeah. So like I said, part of this video was to talk about things that people do and the advantages of them. So the use of cheeky swipes. Window. Good. So cheeky swipes was done by Masala. Well, I think other people had kind of come across cheeky swipes, but Masala is, again, Masala, for better or for worse, their impact on FTL is felt. That was awesome. Masala Maneuver is named after them, of course. They discovered that too. So the cheeky swipe is on a beam attack. You can path a beam between the rooms, okay? And it, in fact, beams have a thickness. So it would trigger damage to all the rooms. And even though, like, actually after you place the beam, none of the rooms are highlighted. Like, unless it's, but anyways. So you would place a beam between the rooms instead of, like I said, physically through the rooms. And this could lead to more damaging swipes. I use cheese swipes and by no pause. I tried it iOS. I don't think it works however it starts. Yeah. Man, I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't sure how prevalent it was. And part of the other thing I want to do with this is like destigmatize stuff. No, I already have you the youngest player, so open youngest player to win a cycle because that's cool information. Team achieve it. So, which again, the developer was told about this and was like, "Oh, that's cool, that's fine." However, you use cheeky swipes as well. I thought that they did. I couldn't even remember. Maybe that's it. Boop. So I use cheeky swipes for one run the other day. Yeah, like people, like I use Sven Maneuver in a run because I was running triple flak 2s and a halberd beam, and it was just too hilarious not to do it. But then we also could talk about Sven Maneuver. Yeah, see, I don't know about this. Cheeky swipes thing is like a weirder element, but we're talking about it. Yeah, because we have the other thing, we have cheeky swipes. Much like I was debating cheeky swipes and Sven Maneuver. Fun fact, you can't even Sven Maneuver in PE because weapons decharge instantly. So, completing my discussion from 5 minutes ago, what cheeky swipes is. However, if you are really specific with the beam placement between the rooms, the first room, got to add in a minute, the first room that you go path through, you end up hitting it twice. So part of the damage is it hits the room it's in, it hits the room above, and for some reason the game re-registers it hitting the room below it. What it effectively can allow and does allow is that a beam would be able to hit the exact same room twice. It would deal 2 times damage and 2 times system damage. And that is not unlike, say, hacking bypass, which I also don't have a category from, is not intuitive of game, though, and I guess the enemy ships could maybe at a very randomly replicate it, much like they're able to replicate like bio beam swipes with beam weapons, like that being a thing. But yeah, effectively, it would let your beam weapons be able to do more damage than they inherently would be able to do so. In fact, there was a run that I lost on because I opted not to do a cheeky swipe. I was stealth B. It would have done 10 damage to the enemy ship while... Yeah, and it was at 10 hull, and it had an Artemis, and I was at 2 hull. But I don't use it, so I just did a normal swipe. I ate the Artemis, and I lost. I don't know. Ad starting soon. Is it? Is there an ad starting soon? Are we going to do this? So I know it became more like a strategy that got used. Well, people just picked it up and used it. Again, Masala did like a whole breakdown on, there's also a guide to it, and the FTL Discord. Oh, there we go. There's the ad. Oh, I have it. Gonna keep making notes. Soaking. Own spots. Yeah, we can do that. I don't have inherently too much to expand on it. Like I said, just some people use it, some people don't, because it delivers more damage. Argument, negative or not. But it doesn't, there's nothing outside the game. It's not like, oh, did you know that if you put the game at a certain resolution or on your screen, then like beams just deal more damage? That's not the case. It's just, it's something that with practice you can replicate. And I don't know, I guess like other players may not have the thing. That could be done, but that's what I'll say about that. The thing I want to talk about the, just because I'm a harper on point, is Core Sigma. Welcome back to Murder Most Foul. Thank you for the 49 months. Sorry there are no mantises on the screen right now. We haven't really talked about mantis. Mantis is, if you're familiar with, okay, actually I can bring this back up. Ha 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 ha. Is that there's a bug in FTL that defense drones don't see here. They don't see it. So particularly on like longer nose ships, this portion of the ship is not as protected by defense drones, anti-drone drones, compared to the rest of this. Those systems can naturally miss. This is true, but if there's like, not, again, probably not this ship, but some of the, another lost row here. Like this portion of the ship, if a missile comes from here, there could be a DD-1 drone here, 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 here. They're not going to target the missile. It is going to hit pilot. Oh, yeah, I mean, you can just show Mantis B. That's fair. Just kidding. These are forfeits. Those don't count. Do 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 do. Yeah, there's a little defense drone. So it's particularly egregious on this ship because these are the systems it doesn't protect. And you may note, I died a pretty brutal death in Sector 1 to an Artemis missile. I could have done a lot of things differently. I could have made a lot of better decisions. But what happened is I had a defense drone up and a missile came through this direction and slammed into my shields, never fired. and there was a breach. So I start trying to repair it, and then a missile, again, defense drone still deployed, slammed into my drone control. So now this is offline. Just before I could get it repaired, another missile hit my shields, and that opened me up to the heavy laser. And I died. Again, there's a lot of different things I could have done before that. There was a potential to counterboard, send the boarding bot over. There's a lot of rooms it can land in that would enable me to be able to crew kill very quickly. Landed in shields, there's some options. If it landed in weapons, there would be some options. I never did. There's also some smart targeting that I could have done. For example, you don't power this until just as the missile fires, much like the smart targeting manipulation on Stealth B. Do is you just have it off and try until the missile fires and then turn it on. And so drone control wasn't online. It's not on smart targeting. And you could actually do the same thing for shields. So you could eat the heavy laser shot, then turn off your shields, turn off your defense drone, and wait for the Artemis to fire, and then put up the defense drone and both your shields. If you kept track of that, that would actually defensively be the safest way of dealing with that fight. So this is a bug. This is a problem in the game. However, you could, of course, this takes manipulation of files, change the X, I guess something about XY. Change it so this starts working. That would, again, be very fundamentally different versus the game that it exists in. If you could, as I said, get it in-game to run at 30 FPS, I guess you can get the game to run at 30 FPS. If you have to go outside, utilize a monitor setting or your game setting, that's different. And, like, it's just not vanilla. So we did talk about cheeky swipes, good old swipes. The other thing is Sven Maneuver. So Sven Maneuver is an ability that uses weapon pre-igniter. So you can actually, with a weapon pre-igniter, run far more weapon power than you have systems for. As I said, I once ran triple flak 2s in a halberd beam. That's a 12 power weapon system. And you can find videos about the Sven Maneuver, but I'll describe it briefly. At the end, before you jump away, and this generally works best with like flaks because they fire all their projectiles at once. That's what it's strongest with. Is you charge all your weapons to full, then you depower them, hit pause. So Farb says they have had some success in no. You hit pause, depower the weapons that are fully charged, power new weapons, jump to the next beacon. And when you arrive at the next beacon, you will find that the weapons that you charged are fully charged, because that's what pre-igniter does, but the weapons that you had partially charged retain part of their charge, almost the full charge. And so again, with like flak weapons, you could fire them and they're instantly going to release all their projectiles so that you could depower those weapons and repower the partially charged weapons, have them fully charged very quickly, and then fire them as well. Like I said, there is some interesting elements. I've never fully seen it used in an application where, like, you as the player would be running, like, not upgrading weapons. Like, you would run a 3-power weapon setup and, like, double heavy laser. Effectively, you could do that. Or, like, double flak 2s on a 3-power system. Swapping between flak and burst laser 2. Yeah, you would want, like I said, you would want flak or beams to inherently be the first thing that fires. Because if it takes a long time for those weapons to shoot, say like a charge 2, you're going to lose too much of your charge to really be able to put them in together. Now, the other interesting thing is this is also can be applied to charge weapons. So charged weapons, charge 1s, charge 2, charge ion, I'll say charge. Hey, Claria, Raider. Oh, you're going to subject these individuals to this? Why? Of all the blocks, it's not too many checks. No. Yeah. Welcome. I am discussing FTL win streaks. cycle streaks, the different ways that people play it, and like the advantages or disadvantages to those ways of playing it. Just hopping on my soapbox a lot. Welcome. Back to, so Sven Maneuver, in terms of like charge weapons. So if you fully charge a charge weapon and jump, you have that weapon powered through the jump. When you get to the next beacon, it retains 1 charge. That's it. That's for all the weapons, 1 charge. Get good. But I always try to help people. People have other things to do. It's like people who get upset about like console wars, or they're like, oh, you should. Why do you not like PC? It's just like, look, if you have an Xbox, PlayStation, they tested it on the equipment. It's probably gonna work. That's a really nice thing. Versus a PC player, and you don't know if your combination of CPU, GPU, monitor lets the game even run. All right, fair enough. So you could use that depowering strat though with like 4 breaks. So with a charge weapon, you charge 2. Charge them up to full, and you depower them while in position of pre-igniter. I mentioned that you had to have a weapon pre-igniter. This, with pre-igniter, when you jump, it'll retain all of its charges but 1, and it'll be mostly filled. So that is going to more allow you to use charge weapons with that. Now that, again, I don't know if that's a bug. Like, it makes charge weapons, which are kind of frowned upon for, like, because they don't start fires. Well, I think charge 2 is a temp. Charge 1 doesn't. Yeah, like, it just more enables them to work with pre-igniter, if you're so inclined. So, if you're inclined to. Again, how much of an advantage? Like, the run where I was running triple flak 2s and a halberd beam, I was gonna win. I was probably already in a position where I was silly enough to be able to run those kind of weapons. But is an exploit, technically, because it lets you run more weapon power than what you actually have in the system. Of course, you know, you could point out that there's a lot of in-game elements that kind of are like that. There are times where, like, the game gives you credit for having a beam weapon, even if you can't actually power it. It's like, oh, cut the ship out with your glaive. Yes, on Mantis A that I haven't upgraded the weapons on, I will cut out that pirate ship with my glaive beam. Welcome back. You also can, like, jump into beacons, and it's like a missile fired across the bow of your ship. Oh, okay, let's get ready for a fight. And then the enemy has no missile weapon. Did they just have the one? Swapped it out? Is it just the intimidating warning missile? I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a missile at all. It was just like an escape pod. Yes. But now that exists, what other things do exist? Oh, we'll get into that in a second. Use of hacking bypass. So, again, if you're not familiar with this element, that's a lot of checks. I haven't done much. The only randomizer I did was the Subnautica randomizer. All I did was make me have to get like a lot of lead. Doesn't make logical sense to explain what should and shouldn't be allowed. Is literally something. I think so too. I think. And as I said, everyone kind of just goes, these are the things that I'm comfortable using, and I use those things. And try, I don't know. There's certain things where it's like, I don't know about that one. But we'll see. Because there are many things in FTL that don't make sense. Oh. Weapons can shoot systems without causing breaches. Like beam weapons. They just go along the edge. They don't cut holes into the ship. They just fire beams just superheat the rooms, and then that causes the fire. There's no, because elsewise then everything should cause breaches. Stupid Federation clone that I can't clone bay crew that are alive. I should just be able to make more crew. No, I can't do it. Regulations say so. We're in the middle of a war. Nope. Nope. Fire's spreading into O2. Yeah, that's true. They're very, very determined fires. And maybe it's an electrical. So the hacking exploit, if you depower, generally this is like if there's a defense drone, anti-defense. If there's a defense drone and like this one, and there's a hacking that comes in, so this has to turn and like shoot the hack, and it does it in anticipation of that hack's location because the projectile travels, and the drone is traveling. Well, you can turn off the drone, just depower your hacking like so, and this shot sails to where it thought the hacking was going to go, while your hacking drone sits still unpowered. Then you turn it back on and it goes zip right to the system that you wanted. I could point out that the developers knew about this and thought it was fine because all the drones work that way. So like if you had a boarding bot, or if you were using a boarding bot, or you were using an ion intruder, you could utilize the same bypass. And in fact, in the 0.9 update, we're going to call it the 0.9 update, not the other number that it is, 0.9 update. In the 0.9 update, like anti-drones versus drones, you could actually depower the drones, and they could take the ion shot from the drones, and then fine. Like, as they're depowered when the anti-drone ion hits, they never explode. Unless it's like the toggle was just like a fraction of a second too. And you might be like, okay, well, it's fine allowance. So people take issue because there is a system called Defense Scrambler. It starts on NGC. Yeah, so this thing it prevents enemy defense drones from targeting anything. So they just spin around. We all love spinning around. And they don't actually fire. So if you just can bypass it by turning something on and off, what's the point? Now, again, you can't do it with missiles. Ship doesn't have any missiles. It just has hacking. So if you're going missile ship, you this. But it does make this feeling somewhat obsolete. But I don't know. Hacking stun feels pretty obsolete in a lot of scenarios. Everything has like maybe. And another thing which some people don't consider is I'm gonna get into a fight. Just need a second ship. Sure. Cool. All right. These are not sitting still. It looks like they're sitting still. Like there's a background image that doesn't move, but we're not sitting still. It's not one ship sitting here, one ship sitting here, and they're just shooting at each other, right? Like how does evasion work? You have to move. Hello, Monty, right? So while this is you have to imagine that the ships are always flying around, right? So it's funny that you can deploy a beam drone, turn it off so it can't be targeted, but it'll still follow the enemy ship around enough that you can turn it back on and it can keep attacking. As far as we were talking about things that don't inherently make sense in the game, yeah. Like if you turn off the drone, the ship should just instantly get away. It should just be gone. Boop. And as I said, we talked about hacking powerful systems in the game. I feel like it doesn't need that additional benefit. Fair, maybe fair, and that there's other ways, like perhaps flak initially were just supposed to be a way to distract defense drones and set other things up. Unfortunately, hacker just incredibly powerful because it's 3 shots for 2 power, and they're definitely not inaccurate enough that they're not good. It does look oil. Now goes Streak Lore. We're getting there. I've been talking for 3.5 hours. Hacking drones should keep flying in space. How are lasers different from ions and beams, etc., etc.? Well, like, we found out from the devs that beam weapons were supposed to, like, if anything reveals your ship's location to undo cloaking, it's a beam. It's a direct line to your ship. Actually, in outer space, you wouldn't see any beams. And there's no dust particles. So anyways. But beam weapons do not, I think it's like 20%. So if you're cloaking and you fire any weapon, even bombs, that's not a beam, your cloaking time is reduced by like 20%. Beams, however, don't have that reduction, and that was completely by mistake. It was supposed to, it didn't, they kept it in. Pew pew projectiles, yeah. The lectures were on this topic. Oh, college, FTL college, yeah. You got this course, and the value course, and the masterclass 8-hour run. Oof, it's a lot. So we talked about hacking bypass and how the youthful place. So I guess we can talk about this next. Where's the score course? Not enough people signed up for it. It was dropped in favor of Mantis Hakaz 101. You know, good old dance theater stuff. Old Hakas. So, use of quit reload strategies, exploits, stuff. Okay, so in FTL and a lot of games, like you can just you can save and quit. Boop. Save and quit. FTL is not particularly adept at dealing with loading the fights back the way in which you left them in a save. The FTL Reddit has a long list of what quit reloading can allow the player to do. Some examples, if you quit and reload, is you can use a single shield bubble to stop a burst laser 3. It'll stop all 5 shots. I accidentally just went in a run and ended up hurting me, and I tried to make sure I wouldn't do it again. Yeah. Mine, like leaving a fight and starting a fight, you could like reseed where the enemies teleport into, so it's more convenient. I don't know, I guess you could do it maybe to reseed the first mind control if you really don't want it to be your pilot. But it gets pretty bonkers. You can essentially instantly charge a chain laser. As I said, one shield bubble stops everything. It effectively can delete surges against the flagship. So, you know, like a lot of people would go get cloaking because it's really important to deal with the surges of the flagship. You can just save reload and the surges just go away. They're just not a thing. And as far as I know, the practitioner of this is Chewbacca. Chewbacca's over at the Reddit, has never not said that they don't do that. And defers that people who do not use these strategies, like their streaks are more valid. Whatever. Again, just admitting what you're doing and what it is for what it is. Cool beans. Yeah, so we see, I don't think these numbers are right. I could not remember what they were. I remember at one point Chewbacca surpassed Thomas's and then later did get up to like 160, which of course surpassed his Holo and Neozar in terms of like wins. I have lasers. Beams projectile, but not lasers. Laser beams. Bzzz. So apparently Chewbacca had dozens of actual cycles, doesn't remember how many, but these were 2 of their longest. I want to say one of the losses was because they didn't know you could depower teleporter, because it's the only system that works that way. You could actually depower teleporters, so to get around a teleporter hack. But nah, I can't use the wiki. Dude, human beings are amazing. They're just amazing. So... Did you ever play the game sequel Spaz? I don't think so. Sure I haven't. Bring up my... Space Pirates and Zombies? No, I never heard of Space Pirates and Zombies 2. It's fun. Zombies. I guess Dead Space is kind of space engineer. We're kind of pirate. We do commandeer somebody else's ship at some point. Yeah, doesn't use the wiki. I don't know. I think I kind of like wrapped up the point. Like I said, in discussing win streaks, one, updating the sheet, so I think it reflects the myriad of styles and better explains how people went about in getting their streaks. Again, I don't have like a rating system. Like, I'm not gonna watch all the runs and be like, oh, this thing was exceptionally challenging. It was much harder to do this cycle than another. And kind of to that degree, let me show you, where's my... Yeah, this is my 27-0 PB. Actually, base game, but you can use more pausing, especially... Oh, pausing! So my 27 streak, look at this. Look at those numbers. Oh, 51, 52... Not a single sub 5,000, except until right the very end. Federation A, 4947. Then, like I said, if we scroll all the way down to when I selected my ships, when I actually selected my ships, sub 5,000, 4,600, 4,700, 4,800, 4,800, 4,600, 4,300, another nice little 4,959 to finish it out. That's 6 or 7. God's frowned upon you, Crow. Some degree. But it's because I'm so much more consistent that these runs just would kill you. These runs would just have killed me back in the day. And instead, because again, I, consistently, I can make it through bad streaks, and I don't need as much good RNG. I find it interesting where, like, if I get an average run of FTL, it feels like such a breeze. I was just like, oh, I just get to win? I got free weapons, and in Sector 4, I just get to win? That's fun. And then it's just like, tra-la-la, crush absolutely every single ship, defeat the flagship, get flawless, and it's like, 5,300 score. Like, oh, that felt really easy for an average run. What are my averages? I still kind of want to do a video about this. 55-21. Yeah. So if it's just like, this is cruising. To me, this would feel like just an absolute gimme of a run. And then, yeah, like, you can just have people who, again, there's skill, there's experience, there's like just sunk a lot of time into it, and I talk about it. But I'm very, very comfortable with sub-average runs. I despise it when I get multiple sub 5,000 runs in a row. That starts to get a little bit frustrating, gets a little bit tedious, and that's just because I have to use my mental faculties for such a long period of time. What do you mean? Your average is 554? Well, what's... It kind of depends. Some people's stats are a little bit different. Some people's accurate. Where initially starting out in FTL and trying to get wins, there's a lot of stuff you don't know. Like, you may not know how to maximize scrap, you may not know how to maximize dump. Like, crew kills are really important stuff. Then you learn crew kills, scrap averages, they go up. Doing crew kills, that also helps you win more. And because you're not dying, your numbers are still going up. Then you get to a point where you have to learn, like, when you have to stop, like when you don't have to risk a fight, when you just need to run away versus taking on a ship that is really potentially dangerous. That starts to tank your numbers. Never! Very fair, Badger. Emperor Badger's a score, but hey. So, this is really fun. Remember, so again, I did 13 runs with every single ship, right? Like, this is going to be part of that talk, but, and we see that's my average, 55-21. That's my average. When was my last loss? Oh, here it was. Yeah, the Stealth B loss. Format. Function. Average. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 16, 17. 17 runs. My average, in terms of score, dropped 300 points. Crap, 1822? Whoops. We're sorry, for 17 runs, you just lost 120 scrap on your average. We're sorry. FTL feels really bad. That in 17 runs, there was just no scrap for you. Still won them all. Won all 17. I don't know. FTL hates me. Kinda does. Averages are nearly identical. I do think, yeah, like I think they would kind of. Or you only no. This is the 13, so this is all the runs. So it does have losses. There's a couple, I think there's like 2 runs that I don't have information. I don't remember where they are, but no. There's good old Mantis B 45. That's 0 scrap. The pretty handy dandy sample size. Plug A, Sector 1 death. Yeah, so the video I was going to like talk about averages, like kind of do streak comparisons, as well as like look at the losses and be like, this is why I lost. But that's for another video. No I'm previewing that. And then scrap out. Oh yeah, good information. All good information. Because you only track it. Well, your averages should be higher because you don't have any deaths, so you don't die in like Sector 1 in your numbers to tank. Ship kill numbers tank. Yeah, dying in Sector 1 really kills the old bell curve. That's it. That's all. I talked about different ways people approach FTL, what the advantages of those things are, what are some of the disadvantages. Track your losses numbers. Yeah, oh, okay, yeah, right. I was thinking like comparison to me, but you meant to yourself. Understood. I made it about me. I should really do all about that. So I'm still missing some information, some of the numbers, accuracies. But I hope again this kind of just like dispels some of the bad vibes of people who have a certain rare stuff. Good old Coco. Coco's not supposed to be on the counter. Literally, this is the one counter, the kitchen counter, that my sister forbids Coco from getting on. And Coco doesn't care. Not a bit. Not a bit. Two takeaways. LRS is the big. I'm not going to read that out loud. like, there were some things, like I said, the cheeky swipe, Sven Maneuver, backseating. I'm still a little bit hesitant of, because I didn't want people to like come to a list and just go, selected ships, invalid. Speed hacking, invalid. Measuring, fleet, like these aren't, it's just going like, oh, like there's a lot of people who do a myriad of different things and things that are very similar, basically. And just kind of walk away with the idea of like, I can play the game that I want to, feel like it's legitimized and not like feel bad or feel like they're somehow wrong or they're like invalid. As we talked about, you want to do like multiverse cycles, I don't know, the 300 ships, I don't know, multiverse or arsenal or whatever. I was a little bit tempted to, somebody started posting, they have some normal cycles, and like one of them they did without hacking. I was like, that's really cool. So yeah, it is, these are all hard mode cycles. I also mentioned, well, very satisfied with my own achievements in a vacuum, don't need that. Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. Using that as like in anything, I always think FTL is kind of like a really good psychological test. You can learn a lot about people, about like, how do people solve problems? How do people deal with disappointments and things not going the way that they want? How do people like persevere? How do they like look at their goals and how they achieve them? Lets you know. You know, the issue with this is that the person aimed at those people are just going to ignore this and keep thinking what they already were. Yeah. I just beat all ships on hard. Congratulations. It's a very difficult thing. FTL is a stupidly hard game. There's a thread in the Reddit about like, what's the like bad advice you've ever been given? And I was just like, easy mode, where the game's like, oh, this is easy mode, and people go, oh, I don't want to play easy mode. I'm good at video games. It's like, we should play easy mode. It's not actually easy mode. It's stupidly hard. You're going to die. So you win on easy mode, congratulations. And then you win all on hard mode, bonus points. Seriously? It is not easy. FTL has broken many a person. Fun fact, I know I've said it before, but I can say it again. I beat all the things on easy. Then I played 2 or 3 runs of normal, and it was like, I got this in the bag. I'm going to go play hard mode. I played 4 or 5 runs of hard mode, and I deleted the game. Because I was so angry about how RNG dependent the game was. Congratulations. It's a tough point to get to. 100 hours in, if you have to clear all the room, yeah. You see, like, there's sort of like another post. Empowers recently. Empowers in their iceberg video talked about how like people are like, oh my gosh, I haven't won an FTL in like 4 runs. Is there something wrong with me? And it's like, no. Here's a list of all the people who have 100 hours in the game without winning a single run. Lanny B. Oh, well, I mean, yes, again, Racka, we know you cheat, okay? It's been established. We understand. Don't have to go that hard in the paint about it. Your shows have adapted so much going from easy to normal, doing normal consistency streaking hard. Yeah, I mean, you kind of do develop bad habits for hard. It's true. UBG. Fun. Yeah, and you know, just like I don't know. I encourage people to like, oh, here's like, have fun. As much as I like kid around about FTL and make myself miserable at certain points, like it is a video game. It is a video game, and you don't have to win streak. You don't have to get 97%. You don't need cycles. You don't need to play vanilla or whatever. And just like if you're just having fun, That's really great. You're allowed to have a little sunshine in your life, you know? Yeah, hard mode was introduced with Advanced Edition, yes. It was only easy and normal before. And so like things like Clone Bay, all the sea layouts, both Lania ships, hacking, mind control, all the charged weapons, all the flak weapons didn't exist, and also some of the balances changed as well. Both extremely difficult in different ways, and the game is stupid and hates us. Yes. I mean, again, I'm not gonna argue that no pause is somehow easier than pause. It's not. Trying to do predominantly the exact same things, some things you just can't do, but you're doing with no pause. Like, yeah, like that's harder. And again, random here is gonna take a little bit more time than if you selected your ships. There's certain mental differences, so find out what works for you. Really hate wasting a bunch of time? Go to selected ships. Take the advantage of, like, you know, whenever you feel like doing something, you don't even have to do all the hard ships. You just, I don't feel like playing this kind of ship. Measuring devices, predominantly, again, across the board, it's all quality of life. So if it's just like, I find measuring all the beacons tedious, download Fleet Pursuit Indicator. I want to train because I feel like it maximizes my chances of winning, but it takes too long. Go ahead, use speed hacking. No pause with pause with the balance being my experience. Okay, FTL, like emotion. No pause. So what's Burrito just started doing no pause, and I think got like a 16 streak in no pause. Just like, no, I'm just gonna do some no pause, and a lot of it is just really good ideas. What's interesting is like, again, it's not cheating, but like a lot of no pause players will try and turn like all the boarding ships into weapon ships because the micro is too much. And it's like, no, you really should just figure out how to do the micro and no pause. Won't always be able to do that. I mean, again, you can if you're not like trying to get cycles. Any top tier pauser could probably get a no pause cycle pretty easy with just a bit of practice. I think it's easier now because, again, not just myself. I mean, Holo also have. Now we have Neazar, and gosh, you know how it really is cool? It is really cool when how people who get cycles go to like a Reddit, Discord, like, hey, I just got a cycle, and everyone's excited. No one's like, fake, doesn't count, not good enough, whatever. They're just like, that's really cool. That's really good. Good on you, FTL community. But then they do like a little thing, like a little acknowledgement section, and they're like, I want to thank so-and-so because they really helped me out. Or I learned a bunch of stuff from these people. And then I see names of people who I influenced on the list. And it's just like, man, Neazar got thanked for helping somebody in FTL, and I helped out Neazar. Or so-and-so was an inspiration, and I remember long ago when I was, I was teaching him a little like trick or something on a ship. And like, it's really just sort of like this really cool feeling about how, I mean, it's not generations, but that there's just, people rise and they get into FTL and then they move on to other stuff. But then like new people come in and then like they're able to, you got street grandkids. Yeah. And like I said, it's just like really cool. There was one, I don't know, but they did it. And like I said, I think it's the coolest tradition. Like FTL, I don't know if we have like tradition, but like getting a cycle and then doing your like thanks to people who helped me out, it's so sick. I love it. I think it's like such an awesome community. And then again, being able to get recognized for your accomplishments, even like, again, people who get their first wins, they'll get a lot of love on Reddit. But I think here, like, I wasn't thanked. They talked about people who I've talked with or I've helped at certain points, but I wasn't even on the list. And I was like, people can win without, like, it's not directly always about me. It is, but like being able to see again where it's like the rippling of, like, that's really cool. I could stop playing FTL tomorrow, and there's still going to be, what I hope, like a net positive impact, a sub element on the community, on the player base. And like, that's one of the things that has helped me keep going. I mean, we started the stream talking about like why I've been struggling playing because of like the lack of gold, but it always is still tiny, often cold, non-functional in terms of liking their crew or treating them with any semblance of humanity. Hard. So a little bit mood, a little bump every time I was somebody. I was just like, someone like thanks somebody else. Who thinks he can quit FTL? We know better. I mean, see my name manager as someone says I helped them, even when I personally don't know them much. Yeah, like it's so cool to be like, oh my god, like being recognized for having a positive influence on somebody. Pretty much the best. Oh, and then yeah, like you don't have to have a cycle. Like even chat. We talk about the benefits of like streaming live and not just having people backseat, but like when you're down on yourself, when you're in the doom spiral, that's like, hey, that sucks. That was really rough. We're really sorry at it, but you know, like we still love you. Our liking of you has nothing to do with whether you're very good at a video game, and you know, best of luck going. Or not. Like, hey, yeah, like find something else. It's really great. Anyways, I think I'm done. I think I covered it. So let's see if we can raid